God, we're going already. Like I said,
it's Saturday. You know what that means. It's time for Call to Action Live. Well, tonight we have such a big show that apparently it's destroying my internet. But as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, the best co-host in the business, better than any other co-host on any other Call to Action show, Danielle. Danielle, how you doing tonight, baby girl?
I'm doing good, Billy. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here this Saturday. Oh my gosh, what a week we got in the Schmoedown. This was insane.
Yeah, you know it's funny, Paul. You're not introduced yet. You don't talk. You know, when we put this show together, it was before like all of the craziness of this week happened. So it just happens that we picked the perfect night to have a Star Wars party. And if you're gonna have a Star Wars party, PLD just shows up uninvited. So PLD, what's up in the house?
That's true. I don't actually come on the show anymore, but then I heard Star Wars was going to be there, so I'm like, well, I'm going to be on the show now, absolutely. And then I heard about the guests we're going to have. Well, that's a no-brainer. But did we have a week or what? I mean, like, I thought after Monday, the Patreon match, I thought we had maybe the match of the year candidate. Well, that got blown out of the water at this point by Saturday.
Yeah, we're not.
Two in a week, though. Holy crap. And the other matches were pretty damn good, too.
I would argue and say 3 in a week. I know which matches you're talking about, and I want to slide in that third one that definitely had potential to be a damn good match.
As we allude to it, when that third match is like the third best match of the week, then you know you had a good week. It's funny, too, because we have this Star Wars party, and it's kind of like we all RSVP'd to +1 because we all kind of contacted someone different. Which is really funny. It's like, hey, we need a guest. I'll get one. You'll get one. You'll get one. Oh, we have 3 guests. Amazing. Fantastic. So, but without further ado, let's bring on some guests before we get into this 9-hour podcast because we have so many guests.
Should we each introduce our own date? Their own date we're bringing to the party?
No, Paul, I introduced the guests. This is my show. I own it. I'm the captain. All right? I'll be doing all of the introductions.
All right.
And introducing first, we have Paul's date to the party. He contacted friend of the show. Welcome back, Mr. Thomas Harper.
Thomas Harper, good to see you.
Hello.
How you doing, Thomas?
I'm a big fan of Thomas. I'm attracted to Thomas. I had to ask him. We're both married, but it was good enough for the show for one day only. You know?
Where's my corsage? I'm still sitting here.
Got lost in the mail somewhere. It's on the way. It's on the way.
My parents aren't happy about this. I'll tell you that.
Yes. All right. So without further ado, we'll bring on our second guest, my date to the party. She has made her Schmoedown debut this week. She's also the first competitor I've ever seen answer the same question 9 times correctly in a single Schmoedown match. Clint, shout out to Clint Howard. You're a big fan. But Ms. Lacey Gilleran.
Billy, I was told this was a Christmas party, not a Star Wars party, so I feel like I've been lied to.
Isn't every Star Wars party a Christmas party and vice versa? That's how I do it.
I don't think so.
My lights are green.
Guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's Saturday night, so let's talk Schmoedown.
Definitely.
Of course. All right, and last but definitely least, after you said that thing earlier, we have the one.
You can say least.
The razor, Adam Witt, Dani's date to the party.
Hello.
Boo.
I don't know who I'm more jealous of, Lacey or Thomas's backdrop or Billy's, because I just wish I had the guts to leave my Christmas tree up until April. It's genius.
I tried
You
to
should
do
see
that
the
once, my wife
Halloween decorations that are outside. It's
Are there Star Wars decorations? That's the question, Billy.
always.
Always
Again,
Star Wars. Okay.
are there other decorations besides Star Wars decorations? Possibly Mrs. Doubtfire decorations, but we might get into that later. I don't know.
The next division to happen at this point.
I have a 12 edition painted, screen printed one sheets of Mrs. Doubtfire, all from Gallery 1984.
Oh my god, I love Miss Doubtfire. I was talking about that.
We've got one by Ollie Moss. We've got
the most specific collectible ever.
I love it.
It's funny, you go into somebody's house and it's like Star Wars. I see the backdrops here and my meager one back here. But what if you went into somebody's house and it was just like all the posters were some sort of like screen printed version of it, all the action figures? That would be.
Here's the pie that went into Robin Williams' face.
Yeah.
Right, look at the top of the sealed cup.
I'm the number one
Here's
collector.
The lemon from the drive-by fruiting. Yes.
The lemon.
Well, we're having.
I
Mrs.
wish that was my
Doubtfire.
house now. I want to give up Star Wars and just make that my thing now.
Changing lives,
I
one
think
film at
that's
a time.
a fine movie to do that for,
I
quite
love it.
honestly.
I was watching it before this, where he's like cooking and he's like,
I gotta go watch that again.
That was the year where I worked at the movie theater, so I've seen that movie a lot.
Hello.
This can very easily turn into a Mrs. Doubtfire, but
That's what it is
I'm
now.
not even gonna lie. Because
Welcome to Mrs. Doubtfire Talk.
welcome.
Adam, did you hear how they have a rated R version?
And an NC-17 version. Even
No, the
potentially.
NC-17 is false.
Is it
Per
false? Okay, I missed
Chris Columbus, he said there is a rated R.
I have not heard this.
He said he did up to 22 takes of all the different scenes, and he has about 4 different cuts of the movie.
That's amazing.
I know.
How much do I have to
know.
pay?
That's more creativity and input than I thought that director had in anything. By the way, who is playing the Mrs. Doubtfire exhibition match coming up? Are you guys in on that? Because I want to get in.
Is there one? Oh my god! I was sitting there watching earlier,
Sign me
and
up.
I was like,
I will.
if there were questions, it would be like, what are the kids' names? What plant does the goat eat at the beginning?
Oh my gosh.
Lacey's
There's
in for the den.
Someone get Grace on the phone. Cut this whole first 7 minutes of the show.
How much was
Send
the
it to
bill when he
Grace.
bought the food? $134.
We're going to do that.
The audience doesn't know. The audience doesn't know. This entire crew has already been on like a half-hour chat. We've already talked about everything we were supposed to talk about. Now we're gonna rehash.
Yeah. That's actually true. We are here to talk about something a little specific. Unfortunately, it is not Robin Williams, the great Robin Williams, and the wonderful Mrs. Doubtfire classic cinema. We are here to talk about some sort of cinema, movie trivia, Schmoedown cinema. This was a freaking week. We are allowed to cuss here just for the guests. Each of you all have been on the show before, so again, you are more than welcome to cuss here because this was a fucking week, y'all. This was nuts. So I'm gonna hand it over to Paul or Billy, whichever one of y'all want to start this show off. Let's do this.
I want to say real quick, like I said, like Jake just said here, all Streamlabs Super Chats tonight are going directly to the AAPI GoFundMe, and we C2A will be matching the total. So please donate. Ask your questions about. Ask your Star Wars questions, ask your regular questions, ask your Mrs. Doubtfire questions. Whatever you got,
Please,
we're here to
hit us
answer
with
them.
some Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, I would love it. Is Sally Field a bitch? Yes.
Yes.
Kind of is.
She's the worst.
Our question is general life.
He's done nothing wrong. Let him see his kids, man.
I'll think about it.
Ugh.
We have two Streamlabs already in there, so let's get these out of the way before since we haven't started.
Awesome.
Haven't started our real
Nice.
talk yet.
No, we haven't started. We definitely haven't started.
These better be Mrs. Doubtfire related.
Alan Smithy donated $20. Thank you, Alan, so much.
Thank you.
Says C2A peeps about Mrs. No, I'm kidding. Taking the money. No, please, just take the money. Thank you, Alan.
Aw,
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
All
Well
right.
And
done.
then
Well done.
Thanks, Alan.
our boy,
The boy.
Ferris Muthana
Ah,
donated $100.
the great Ferris Muthana.
Thank you.
Great
Wow.
Ferris Muthana.
Ferris.
And
Is he
Where he
sucking up to
usually-
me?
he usually just
Hello?
says hello.
Hi.
This time he says hello. # stop Asian hate.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
biggest heart,
Up there.
that guy.
Does that bury the
Yeah.
axe between
Yeah.
you two?
Oh, it's fine. It was just I was just poking fun at this point.
Just temporarily. This time you can go back to it afterwards. Go back to your duel afterwards. That's fine. So.
Wait, you were going to get TKO'd like you thought other Schmoedown competitors were going to get TKO'd? That's fair. But no, we are here to talk about this week in Schmoedown, and what a wild week it was. And since we have so many amazing Star Wars competitors on here tonight, we are going to go right into the Star Wars matches. And the week in Star Wars Schmoedown began with the debut of Gold Leader versus
Schlager.
Gold. How many gold nicknames can we come up with? Cage business.
Ooh, Golden saying Ferris knows what's up, though. Oh, well, I don't know about that. But a little shots fired from the.
Easy to say that when your round 2 is all questions that have come up before. Easy to talk.
No lies detected.
The blaster shots are already firing off.
Stay on target.
Stay on target.
But yeah, so we had the debut of Lacey Gilleran. Lacey, how did you feel about, let's say, heading into your debut? How did you feel?
I felt good. I was confident that I know Star Wars. I was studying super hard. I was putting in a lot of time, a lot of quizzing with my faction, with Thomas. I worked my butt off for that match. But, time wasn't on my side in the sense of I got drafted and then I was in the match. So I didn't have as much time as a lot of other players. If you look at an Evan, he's been doing trivia for a long time. I have not. Now, I don't want to use that as an excuse because I think that I am a good player just like Evan. I think he just played better than me. But that being said, this is just the beginning for me. I think I made some rookie mistakes. I didn't take my time on a couple questions, but other than that, I put up 22 points in my debut match. I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Some think mid-tier, but I think a little more than mid. A little higher than
upper mid-tier.
Upper mid-tier. That is the question, not necessarily the question, but kind of what we've seen from the Star Wars division. This division is very much growing from when it started and now where it is, and what we've seen a lot of Schmoedown kind of turn into are these very deep cut level questions. So not everyone can be a machine and spit out answers like crazy. So I think that's one of the transitions that a lot of us have to really understand going forward. Is these people aren't machines. They're normal human beings like the rest of us. So gameplay is gameplay. So for anyone to put down any sort of playing level especially in Star Wars, should really just kind of, sit down, chill out, and watch the match, because regardless of where it is now, this league is creating players that are still, no matter what. I couldn't answer a single question in your match, Lacey. I watched Star Wars.
The best thing that, people that say stuff like that, I'm obviously poking fun at it, but it just drives me to work harder and do better in my next match. Nothing makes me work harder than when people underestimate me. And that was something that I was going into this match with, is a lot of people were like, who is this girl? What does she know? She doesn't know anything. So, again, it was my first match, and one of my mentors within the den has been Saul. He's been absolutely wonderful from the moment I met him and joined the team. And he's just been one of those people that's like, look, you learn the most from your first match. Just take it, learn it, move forward, keep going. Don't think about it anymore. Just learn, move on. So that's what I plan to do.
And I'm here to tell you that from my perspective, there is absolutely something to the preparation time, right? As somebody that's been doing trivia for a while now, there's time you need to get into fighting shape, so to speak. And I will tell you right now that the Lacey that's sitting here today is not the Lacey that was sitting in that match. And I really pity whoever is coming up against her next, because she is nobody's going to outwork her. I don't throw around praise in Star Wars trivia very often. I don't throw it out lightly, but Lacey's beaten me in a practice match. She is nothing to play around with, and I'd be looking out if you're matched up against her next.
Oh, behind the scenes info like that. I like that. So let's go into round one then. You had So you have the round one questions and everything else. You get through. You missed the funny part is that you answered Palpatine.
I could tell you exactly what I thought in that moment. So I put down the first name that came to my mind, and I thought of the scene that he's saying that Luke needs to. He's going to finish Luke's training, Palpatine,
right,
and he's going to take him under. And the craziest part, and I think this question was the most frustrating to me that I got it wrong. The sequence, and I said it on the show because I think Paul made fun of me for it. My favorite sequence in Star Wars is Jabba's palace, from the beginning to the end when the whole katana blows up. Like, it is my favorite scene in Star Wars. So the fact that I got this wrong, I was like livid with myself, because before Evan even turned his board, it was one of those moments, and I saw it in Alex last night, that it and you're like, oh my God. And as he's turning it, I was like, I know that's not it. And then, of course, just to spite me, the Schmoedown gives me a Palpatine question the next question. I was like, this is a joke. But yeah,
what was the question that you missed?
It was a quote, and it was, "Who says you'll learn to appreciate me?"
Oh!
And it's when he's talking to Leia, and she's held up to him. She's got the thing out. He pulls her from the window.
That totally sounds like a Sheev Palpatine quote, though.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that made me kind of...
In time you will come to call me master, something like that.
Yes.
Pops in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting to watch, like, the Zipper match, because he got so many quotes. And people were kind of criticizing him about his 5-pointer. And I thought, but when you're in the moment, you don't know the context of that quote. You don't know who said the quote. You don't even know you just hear the words and you're like, in my mind, who would say this?
I know that somewhere, but
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And that's the thing with quote questions, whether it's Star Wars, IG, anywhere.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just who said it, so there's no context. They don't give you a movie. They don't go, so you can't eliminate possibilities. Like, if it was like, A New Hope, is the category, you could eliminate possibilities. Or if it's,
Sure.
whatever, any other movies, you eliminate possibilities immediately. There seems to be a lot of, you got several quote questions. Evan got several quote questions. And like you said, Zipper seemed a lot. I don't know if it's just a coincidence or if this is just,
I don't know. I saw it in... Yeah, and I saw it in the chat. A couple fans were saying Palpatine too, so I didn't feel like totally dumb, but I had to applaud PJ and the question writers that they wrote a question that was tricky, that made you think. Mm-hmm. And I think in my first match, I really learned that I needed to take the breath and just think things through before moving forward, which we'll eventually get to in round 3. But I left 3 JTEs on the table, and it makes no sense because they give you those. So it was just kind of a mistake on my part.
My biggest regrets in any matches are not JTing at certain points.
Yeah.
It's biggest regrets.
And the worst part is at the end of the match when they're all, after show, we're just kind of sitting there. I look over in the chat and it's Kate going, JTE, Lacey, you have JTEs. Lacey, right. JTE, Lacey, JTE, Lacey, look over here, JTE. And she's just writing JTE. I felt so, it was no joke, like 10 in a row. You still have a JTE.
I feel like that's
I will tell you what, though, in watching Lacey's match, in prepping for my own match, and watching past matches, like, gone are the days where round 1 in the Star Wars division is like legit 1-pointers. I mean, that right. That could be easily a 3-pointer.
Oh my God, I watched the 5-way. Yeah, the 5-ways from years ago. I was like, what color is Luke's lightsaber? You're like, what? What?
Who plays Han Solo?
Yeah, what?
Oh, he got it. Oh, wow. Yeah, those days are long gone.
Well, part of that's also because now I'm using the division now. PJ has actually already got the questions with the way how many movies they have at this point.
Yeah.
But having studied Star Wars, there's an infinite amount of questions. I think Lacey and Thomas can agree.
Yes.
You'll never run out. You'll just never run out somehow.
I love that they're using all of the names and stuff, and the expanded dictionary type stuff and everything else. Those names are just out there at this point.
Bought all those.
Love is an interesting adjective to use about this. I don't know.
Well, you gotta love looking up the random Imperial officer, right? Like, you're like, who's the guy that says that? And you look up and you're like, he has a name?
Nadonis Prodigy, great.
Yeah, Prodigy, right, exactly.
I said what?
Danger, yes.
Yeah, Danger.
I love Star Wars. I think I'll just throw that out there.
The best. It's the best.
It's so ridiculous sometimes.
Why did we let Paul on the show? We have enough people talking about Star Wars. Paul's been trying to do a conversation.
Now there's enough room for everybody to talk about it.
But getting back to the match, so at the end of round one, you're down by 1 point, which in
9-8,
Schmoedown is nothing. You go into round two. How did you feel about the wheel, just in general, before you were spent? Was there?
This was the part of the match that I was the most excited for. I really was excited to spin this wheel, even though it's not even a real wheel. I was like, I'm really pumped.
You're getting robbed, by the way. When you get to spin the real one. I feel bad. I feel bad that you haven't spun a real wheel.
Who am I? I spun it. I got Phantom Menace. Looking back on it, you'd play that like Monday. What is it? Monday morning quarterback. You think sports. I just thought, hey, I'm going to spin again because there are things on the wheel that I could do even better at. And I got solo. So as part of the make solo 2 happen people, I was like, well, if I get all these wrong, I better quit because I can't argue for a movie that I get everything wrong. But yeah, no, it was an interesting wheel to say the least. And we'll get to it with Evan, his opponent's thing. But that was a weird wheel. There was like nothing on it except movies.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't have any of the big bucket categories.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I respun, because I was like, well, there's only movies on here. So it's either I get one movie I like better or worse or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the word questions that always throws me in Star Wars also, and they're always so different, but the ones like the one you got about the credits, how many credits? Those are always
PJ, you sweet summer child. He gave me that question, and they bring up the credits a couple times in the movie. So at the beginning, she says it's about 500 to 600 credits. Then she says it's 800 credits. Then Rogue One, Bodhi Rook's thing is 600 credits. So in my head, I'm going, it's either 6 or 8. So I'm like, let me go multiple choice. They're like, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And I'm like, of course.
Number multiple choice.
Somewhere PJ is just cackling behind the scenes.
Yeah. And so I actually brought this up on another show earlier, and PJ was in the comments and he's like, I know you saw what I did there. And I was like, yes, I did. I did see what you did there. So
he's a genius.
Again, good on him for a great question. It was tricky. Those number of questions always are. Now that I watch Star Wars movies as being in the Schmoedown, I'm sure these guys feel the same. Anytime someone mentions the number, you're like, 14, what? 12? 13?
What's that elevator number?
Yeah, right? Yes. That's in my notes too.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
ticket.
I would say, it's
Sure.
a good thing to go multiple choice out, even if you don't get it, because then it only is a 1 point seal if it does happen.
And that was the other thing is I wasn't sure if it was 6 or 8. So I was just like, as in 600, 800. So I was like, well, if I lose it, at least he's only getting 1 point. And
Exactly.
Thomas and Kate and Saul we'd all talked about this, that to bring down the damage.
Right.
So when I said 6 and it wasn't 6, I was like, well, that I'm sure he thought the same thing as I did. And I was like, well, he knows it's obviously 8 now. And then after that, the only other thing was going down on the shelter and food, shelter protection. I knew it was shelter. I didn't know if it was food or protection on the second half. So I went with protection.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the
funny,
other stuff I knew.
It's funny that you mentioned that, you missed the Jabba question because you said Palpatine, and then you got the Palpatine question. And then it's the 600, you say 600, and then he gets the question from Rogue One where the answer is 600.
Gentlemen, ladies watching this match, or this conversation, go back and look at my face when he gets that question. My face is like, are you kidding me? If this game was a poker game, I'd lose because it's written on my face when I know something. It's written on my face when I'm like, this is ridiculous. I laugh at, I'm never going to hide what I'm feeling. Luckily, I'm pretty easygoing and find it just fun because otherwise I'd be like sitting there crying. But yeah, no, every one of his questions that I knew, I just smile and like shake my head because and that one was definitely a one that I was like, there it is. There's the 600. That's where I'm pulling the 600 from.
Yeah, it's the Schmoedown. It's like things like that tend to happen for some unknown reason. Like
it's all a dice roll, you know. I was watching the match after we were watching it as a faction, and it's like those questions that he got were all ones that we had prepped on, and that's just how the dice roll. And Solo's a tough movie. That's probably one of the tougher movies on the wheel, just based on how it is. Yeah, and so it's, lessons learned, and you move on. But she did phenomenally with Solo. I fumbled with like a couple of those. I wouldn't have gotten you went to multiple choice on that shelter and protection. I had that wrong, even with multiple choice, so I would have given up a point there as well.
Lacey, you mentioned that on the wheel you'd only seen movies on the wheel. So this is a question for everyone here, for the panel.
Sure.
When it comes to studying for Star Wars, are you studying more those random categories such as droids and weapons and ships or anything like that? Especially because you all are very big. I mean, y'all are very much into Star Wars. So I know that you all have seen the movie and know the movies. So is it more those smaller categories that you prep for? I'm gonna shoot to Lacey first.
I don't know about that. I literally go through each movie. In the time leading up to the match, I was going through every single movie, taking notes, going back, reading the notes, going back, watching the scenes that I wasn't sticking on my first watch. It's not studying necessarily the specific categories, but making note of those things that could come up. So like anytime someone's holding a weapon, I write it down. Anytime someone is in a certain vehicle, what's that vehicle? That kind of thing. So that's how I approach it, is every time something happens, how many X-Wings are in a certain shot? I'm like, okay, there's 4 here. Like, that's just, it's a different way of watching movies. And I went to college for multimedia and film and stuff like that. And just going through basic film stuff, you watch movies differently, from the way that the screen is composed to the way people edit scenes and lines are delivered. You just look at them differently. That is now a step further with the Schmoedown, where I'm watching it in such a, like I just told you guys with the Mrs. Doubtfire, I was like, how much was the bill? $134. Okay, great. Yep. Okay. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. It's just like my brain is in this mode now. It's like, okay, they bring this up. What kind of animal was in the dining room?
Yeah. Adam, as a seasoned Schmoedown player, is that also something that you look at in the way that Lacey was talking about with those minor categories?
Oh yeah, you put on your Schmoedown goggles when you watch movies after you've played a few times or even watched a few, and if you know you're playing, you watch movies completely differently, and it's a good thing that other movies aren't like Star Wars, because like you said, like you would then write down that bill number in
134, but he gave him 140. Didn't have change.
Yeah. How much was the tip? Yes. What was the name of?
What kind of car does Sally Field drive? A red Volvo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So those are Schmoedown goggles when you watch the movies. But what's so fun about Star Wars is I love Star Wars anyway. We love Star Wars anyway. So to be able to watch Star Wars in this whole new different way is like really fun. Because I'm like, I never really was interested in, well, what's the shuttle that he's taken there? And I'm like, let me look up what that shuttle. Oh, it's got a name? All right. That's so fun. I mean, when I was a kid, you were collecting action figures. Yeah, they would release all these figures that you didn't. They were in the backgrounds and stuff, and you're like, ooh, this guy's named Squidhead or whatever. They called Quarrens back then. Back when you could call a Quarren a Squidhead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now, I mean, it's like, you see these senators in Phantom Menace, you're like, I'm going to look that guy up. What is that guy's name? It shows up. And then sometimes, I mean, you've seen the scene 100 times, and you're looking, at like a Senator Palpatine's meeting or whatever, and you're like, hey, is so-and-so, I've never seen that Twi'lek in the background before. I'm like, who's that? Oh, it's the assistant to this guy.
Yeah. It's like taking
really
the pill in the Matrix. Like you take the pill, and then all of a sudden you see all the code.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
It's like just like that.
Right.
I'm patiently waiting for an ET question in a Star Wars match. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Yes.
Thomas Harper, same question for you, especially because you've played inside of other Star Wars trivia matches on not a bigger playing field, but on a different sort of playing field. Are those minor things definitely something that you're looking out for when you're watching these movies? And side question, can you enjoy these movies the same way that you have before?
I lost that ability a long time ago. It's really nice. Like, I can't say this right now because I'm like in full prep mode for my friend Adam here, but so I'm not enjoying the movies right now in the same way. But when you can just like after a competition is over, just flush it and just watch to watch. That's just really refreshing. Yeah, you're just like, I don't care what that is flying there. It's just a cool looking ship. But I will say that Dragon Con is very, very different in terms of a lot of the questions that it asked. You saw that already, how that sort of played out in the Marie match. And I've been studying that match. I don't care about saying this in front of Adam. I've been studying that match very closely to see how she played because, we train for the same competition every year. She and I do. I will say the biggest single asset is sitting right here to me, next to me, because the way that Lacey watches these movies and the way that I watch them is different. And what I found is like we mesh very, very well together. I've lost count of the times already in this season in prep for both of our matches that we've taught each other stuff just from our own knowledge base or our own rewatches and stuff. Her point about the way things are filmed is a great example because I can think of two examples right off the top of my head where I get a question wrong that she poses to me, and then through filmmaking or like her knowledge there, she'll talk to me about like, this is why that is that way in this scene. This is why it's positioned that way, or this is why that number of things is there. And this is the reason movie makers do that. And it's like unlocking a box. Like what would be a really tough thing to stick in your brain suddenly becomes really easy to remember on account of those things. So we work really, really well in that regard together. So I'm, I'm thankful to have you, Lacey.
Oh, you're so nice. Oh God, I hate feelings. Ugh. Thanks.
Well,
we all know the one question best was the Clint Howard is the answer. So that's the time you answered. How many times did you have to answer that question?
Yes, I think I answered it 4 times. So what happened was, so this is funny because early on when I got drafted, one of the first times we ever studied, Thomas and I, he had asked me this question, and I couldn't pull who it was because I couldn't picture, like he said the name and I just couldn't figure out who the name was. And so then he was like, well, it's Clint Howard, obviously. And I was just like, oh my God, Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother. Oh my God. So it just kind of stuck in there. So as soon as I got that question, and I knew Thomas had quizzed me very early on when we started studying, it was one of those excitement, like, oh my God, this question came up. So I was like, Clint Howard. And then what happened was, because of digital, there's like a pause between the reaction of Christian and myself. So he didn't do anything. He like pauses. And I don't know if they edited it out a little bit maybe, but like he pauses a little bit. And then I was just like, Clint Howard? Because I wasn't sure if he heard me. And so then he's like, no, I got it. And then Mark just took it from there. But yeah, no, that to me was a definite highlight because it just reminded me like, this is a game. This is meant to be fun. Like we're here to have fun. I'm answering a Clint Howard question. Like it's not that serious. Like remember to laugh, remember to have fun. And I think that's what I went into this match doing is chill out, calm down. I blasted music before. I was like screaming my heart out to like pop songs before I got on. I actually they told me to show up at a certain time. So I show up like 2 minutes late. They're like, where are you? I was like, what? And I was like, just like screaming pop songs. But yeah, no, I went into this match being like, if I have fun, if I get through it, if I answer my 5, I've done a good job on my first match. So that was kind of like what my mentality was.
Yeah. Isn't it funny to have a sport where you can get excited about saying Clint Howard? Like that's how silly the Schmoedown is in a nutshell, is to go, Clint Howard! Like nobody does that in real life, but we found a way to get excited about Clint Howard in this little bubble.
And the funny thing is people watching this right now are going to go back and watch my match because again, it reads on my face. I'm so excited I say it and he doesn't say anything and you see the panic set in where I'm like, Clint Howard? Clint Howard.
Is it recast him and I don't know?
No, it was me watching as a fan, also from like a production like point of view, just because of this show. I'm like, oh my god, the audio. It's because of the audio. He gets it. I'm so sorry, but it's because of the audio. So that was just like running through my head the entire time that was going on. I was like, oh my god.
And you know what? If I can make Christian or Mark kind of break character and laugh a little bit, then I've done a good job.
That's a good job.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely did definitely enjoy that.
Yeah.
Well, real quickly before you move on, as if we didn't have enough guests, we did have someone who wanted to pop in and say hello to everyone.
Is it Gold Leader? I swear to God.
Jacket. He probably hasn't taken it off since the
Do you shower? Do you ever change your
Listen,
clothing?
I shower with this motherfucking jacket on.
He must have thrown all of his other clothes away.
Yes.
God.
I threw everything away when I got drafted so that I would only wear this.
To be fair, that's quite a jacket.
Thank you. I love hearing the love for this.
I assume you invoice Gucci for this performance here.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's a hard jacket to pull off, clearly.
I'm getting paid $11.75 an hour for this, y'all. You better make it good.
Gucci, pay this man a living wage.
Yeah. Well, what's up? How are you guys? I could
We were
smell
good
y'all
for a
talking
moment
shit
there.
from a mile away.
Well, we were doing okay.
Yeah, okay.
I was talking about
I've
something
met you.
fun
When-
until
I've
you
never met
arrived.
before.
No, I haven't met you either.
How
I'm just
are
giving you shit for no reason.
No, you can't do that
It's
anymore.
Schmoedown,
Don't
that's
do
a
that.
perfect reason.
Yeah,
No.
for a perfect reason. That's what I meant.
Well, guys,
Well, you did
Yeah,
have your debut as
Evan-
well.
huh?
Go,
You did
Paul.
have your debut as well, the same time, the same match we're talking
I
about.
did.
What was your thought process on like going into it and then during the match?
If you say you didn't prepare again, I swear to God. Dropping you
Guys,
out.
see, I didn't prepare actually.
That's my game.
Liar.
No, so I work my ass off for this stuff, man. I'm not. I know that Lacey has worked for this, and I know that. I get that. But there are two
I said
people
you
in that
worked
match.
harder or longer, not harder.
You don't know
Longer.
that. You don't know how much I prepared. All I did was watch the Clone Wars movie once, and that's all.
That's how you're.
It changes.
That's
it
all you
changes
could
from time to
stand.
time. Yeah.
Don't act like it's a heroic accomplishment.
Hey,
I was able to only watch Clone Wars once. I
I-
withheld a second viewing of Clone Wars from myself.
I actually never
That's
saw
how
it in theaters.
disciplined I am.
Which is I never saw that in theaters like at all. But I
Oh, really? Were you busy that week?
yeah, I was busy being in fucking middle school.
I was going to say, what were you, like 11?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, no, I was 11. I was just turning 12 the next month.
That'd be an unexcused absence, even though it's Star Wars.
Not excused. Not excused.
You got a note.
No. So yeah, what else going on with everybody here? How are you?
Well, we were talking some Star Wars.
Oh wait, you guys are talking Star Wars here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
every once in a while we talk about Star Wars or Schmoedown or stuff like that. But Evan, I do want to ask you.
Are you guys talking Star Wars? Even though he was like, yo, can I join her stream live?
What are you guys talking about?
I need this. This is all I have.
It's all good. Me personally, Evan, this is just for me. This is not for anyone. I have a hard time calling people someone by their nickname, but
Okay.
your nickname seems to have been mocked quite a lot during
Right.
these last few days. Are you owning it? Are you just owning that gold member, Goldfinger?
You know what? I don't listen to anyone below my pay grade.
Oh.
Except this stream.
Yeah, it's true.
Wait, if
I was
it's
waiting
Gucci,
desperately
We've
for my name to be
won
mentioned.
awards
I
in the Schmoedown, buddy. So
You might
I just
you never know. But which is your favorite off take on the gold leader moniker?
I really like Goldschlager. I gotta give props to Kate for that one.
She's funny.
Gold
That's a good one.
LeMay
And
was great too. I really liked Gold LeMay.
Oh yes. So I don't know if I think I heard someone say gold loser, and I thought that was really funny.
I did not say that.
No, I know you didn't, because you were Gold lose. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Oh, boo. Well, it was nice.
I can't do this on a normal basis.
Everything was going just fine.
Usually what happens when
Ham's gold
Gucci's
leader.
crew comes on to any after show, apparently.
Oh yeah, Gucci is coming on in about 5 minutes. Just so you know.
Does he have
Oh,
clothes on at least?
No, he does not.
Yes,
Gucci doesn't even. Gucci is not even awake right now.
No,
I'm telling you, after our match, we were just chit chatting in the backstage, and I was looking down, kind of like cleaning off my table. I look up, and there's Gucci with no shirt on. I'm like, dude, where are your clothes? What is happening? It's been 2 seconds.
I do not.
He's
think
like,
that
ugh,
man
ready
needs
to
a
party
full
now. I'm like, what?
I can't remember. Did he still have the scarf on, or I don't think he did. I
No, he
wish
took
did.
everything off. So that's why I was
great.
like, where did your clothes go?
I love the man.
It's part of
I love
his
them,
charm.
man.
That's him, officer.
It's a strategic move to distract
Yeah.
everybody.
Sure.
It's like how animals have natural defense mechanisms to like ward off predators. It's like Gucci just strips to make everyone leave him alone.
They tell me I'm invisible when I don't have these on.
He's like what is it called? I guess I think they explain it in Jurassic World. The property of an animal to be like a chameleon, like to be able to blend into the cuttlefish DNA aspect of the Indominus. But what is it? I forgot what the property of a thing is.
Star Wars
I could see.
Doubtfire on the show, so I don't
I
know.
could see
okay.
Gucci
Yeah.
falling inadvertently into an aquarium somewhere, mixing up with a cuttlefish, and then he comes out and he just is what he is now.
Yes, absolutely. No, he's
trying to cuddle the fish.
he blends in. Yeah, he blends in. No, are you folks gold doubloons?
Was he a pirate now?
Let me ask you.
I need something more real here.
Let me ask you, Ryan. Was that worth $3.99?
Yes, it was. Because all of our Streamlabs and Super Chat donations are going to AAIP. So make sure that you get the Streamlabs and Super Chats.
You should have said $5.99, asshole.
So please make fun of Gold Leader. It goes to a good cause.
It truly
That's
does.
right. It always
Yes.
does.
Thank you so much, Gold member. Truly appreciate it. Having someone like Tom Dagnino as your manager definitely ups your douchiness inside of the Schmoedown. So obviously, most of us here appreciate it, especially.
If anyone sends in, here's my bargain. I will.
Are you going to sell the jacket on the stream right now, guys?
No, not
$5.99.
over my dead body, Lacey.
Yeah, just like having bargaining on my.
I will say verbally whatever super chats come in.
Whatever super chats come in.
Whatever
Anything.
super chats
will
come in, I
you?
will say verbally.
Will.
Famous last word.
All right, you are crashing a Mrs. Doubtfire trivia night. So we
I
can
know,
get back
what
to
the
this.
hell?
Oh, is this not Star Wars? Is that what it is?
Wow.
The pie he stuck his face in was a lemon meringue.
Was it a lemon meringue? Ah, damn it.
You stepped into the wrong jungle.
I've never seen Mrs. Doubtfire.
What kind of car runs over the
you're off
mast?
the
The
show.
dunk truck.
Sorry,
You're
Jake.
off the show. If you've never seen Mrs. Doubtfire, no.
I do. Yes.
Wow. Well, we're gonna back.
I was
up.
like, wait, are you actually about to? I was like, is that
We let you go just a little long enough just to make you start wondering.
it? Just to believe, just to make me believe. Okay.
It's like when Christian didn't respond to Clint Howard. You start to wonder.
Start to wonder, right?
You're in C2A purgatory.
That's what it is. See the way purgatory. It's hard to get out of. It's hard to get out of.
I think
The
that's called.
sunken
I think
place.
that's called giving him the Kaiser, right? Just dropping him right out in mid sentence.
That is the
Damn.
case at that point.
No,
Oh my God.
Thomas, it's good to see you as well. I haven't said hi to you yet, but I've been in this chat for like 10 minutes already. So
It's good to see you.
It's okay.
Once
You're
again-
nervous. Just take a breath. It's okay.
Listen. I've said this before, but as the resident Y-wing super fan here, I look forward before this season is over of stripping you of that name once and for all. You can have some semblance of it,
right,
but John Dutch Vander
right,
doesn't need to have his name sullied by having it associated with you.
right.
Get the
Man,
belt.
that's
Or
fair.
slip in the
It's-
jacket.
That's fair.
Hey,
If I
if
were
you
John
cause
Dutch Vander, I'd be pissed too.
If you cause him to relinquish his name, he has to change his name to Not So Nathan if he loses.
Oh, you mean
We have our first official stream super chat challenge for Mr. Evan. There you
Well,
go.
here we go.
I said I would say the whole thing. So Evan say Lacey Gilleran is the best Star Wars player ever, and I cheated to win that
He
match.
said he'd
No,
say
I would never say that.
He said he'd say whatever happened in the chat.
I would never say it.
That was a good bit.
Okay.
That was worth $10.
I bet people are gonna clip that shit and then they're gonna send it to Becky, and I'm gonna get fired.
We're gonna
You're welcome,
edit
AAPI.
out the super chat part of it, so it looks like you're just saying that from.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. That's good. That's some top-notch journalism.
Yeah. Hello, two-time award-winning podcast.
Someone say mid-tier.
Mid-tier. That's mid-tier journalism right there.
All the best people are in the mid-tier. All the best people are in the mid-tier.
I'm mid-tier to the end. I'm never going to play Alex Damon. I don't want to play. Who cares? I'm here to be mid-tier and have fun.
Can we talk about how Gold 5?
So much. You get T-shirts that say like mid-tier on it.
Mid-tier.
Clint Howard is mid-tier.
Definitely.
Can we talk about how Gold 5 calls Gold Leader Hutch?
Yes.
Does anyone want to? Why does that happen? Has anyone addressed
Man,
that ever?
you know, the fog of war does many things to your brain. I like he does get, if you watch closely, he gets a battlefield promotion there right at the end before his
he does.
engine nacelle gets blown off.
There are 3 gold leaders in the original trilogy.
It's true.
Wow.
Oh, wait.
I think I'm gonna put that in my Twitter bio. Mid-tier Schmoedown player.
Ferris, I will say this, but I want you to know that it was Baby Gap. It was Baby Gap. Hi, my name is Gold Leader, and I shop at the kids section at J.C. Penney's. It's also J.C. Penney. It's not. There's no S. There's no S.
You could chop it.
This is now department store
proof.
trivia.
You could chop in multiple 50 pennies, and there's no IES in pennies.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. It's. Yeah, I don't know.
There's no I.
Don't hit on
in
my
Gold
buddy.
Leader.
So let's get back to this match really quickly.
Round
Go ahead. I'll be here.
Going into round 3. Round 3 is always, you want to be down by a certain amount of points going into round 3 and stuff like that. The Star Wars division definitely is one of those places where you never know what can happen, especially watching Friday's match. You just never know what can happen going into it. So, Lacey, what were your thoughts going into, or you know what? Because we didn't get to finish round 2. When Evan spun opponent's choice, what was your mindset kind of going forward into that? Oops.
Well, looking at the wheel, there was no mixed bag. There was no weapons and vehicles. There was no who said it. There was no heroes and villains like slices. It was literally all the movies. Right. So in my mind, I'm going, okay, I probably would have given him Solo first, just because there's a lot of deep cuts in Solo. There's a lot of different references that the Kasdans throw in from all different parts of Star Wars. And to follow that up, I mean, Rogue One has a lot of deep cuts too. So I was like, you know what? Maybe it will roll in my favor and he'll get really crazy deep cut Rogue One questions, because we've seen that on some other matches. And it just didn't. And he got a perfect round, which was well-deserved. He knew the answers. But yeah, so that's what happened. So I love that people were like, why'd you give him Rogue One? What else would you have given him?
I had to give him some Star Wars movie.
I wanted Clone Wars, y'all.
It wasn't on there. Clone Wars wasn't on there.
I know.
Rise
You
of
would've
Skywalker
gotten
wasn't on
I
there.
was not happy with your wheel. If we get if Adam and I get a wheel like that, I'm not going to be pleased at all.
That's interesting, especially with the factor of Clone Wars, because Clone Wars has been one of those categories that has shaken a lot of people up in past matches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially because it's not a favorite movie of a lot of people's. And
Yeah, it sucks.
You watch your
It's not
tongue,
even
Adam.
that it's not a favorite. It's,
Comparatively.
you know, with the live action movies compared to the Clone Wars, the live action movies have a beginning, middle, and the end that kind of connect to not only their movie but other movies. So when you're thinking of things, you can pull multiple points that get you to that answer. The Clone Wars is very weird in that it has different voices for different characters. It has random lines that don't sound like the character would say in the live action movie. So it's just a little tricky.
So on that really quickly for everyone on the panel, I read a bunch of Star Wars books. I like to watch the Clone Wars animated series and Resistance and stuff like that. Does any of that information ever either help or hurt you in any sort of way? Lacey, I'm going to shoot this to you first again, because we're talking about your match specifically here. When you're getting ready for matches, does any other content, Star Wars content that you take in, hurt or help you going forward?
I don't think so, because for me at least, I'm super focused on what I need to study. And I break down those things so detailed that there just isn't room to think of anything else to not focus on that. Although I've said this a ton of times and I'll say it again, like I really wish they would add The Mandalorian to this because that is a whole new bunch of content and I know that show so well.
And
I'm wearing the shirt.
Other Star Wars shows, absolutely 100%. I do believe that is something that I think they were talking about going into, but I do think that it opens
Mandalorian exhibition match.
Give me that. Evan, what about you going into any of this and getting ready for future matches and stuff like that? Does other content hurt or help you going forward?
I don't think it hurts me. I could see that with the Clone Wars because there were a lot of times in my, not that I studied, but in
training camp.
Yeah, in my looking into the movie,
I know
a lot of things that were named later, like ships in that show or in the movie that become named in the show. Things that would not be known just from the movie itself, but like would come into play later. Like, I guess retroactively, like they would put certain cruisers in the Battle of Christophsis that only exist in the show, and so yeah, there were things like that were a little hindering for me, but like apart from that, I'm kind of piggybacking off of what Lacey said. I kind of want the Star Wars division to stay purely movies, because there's still like a lot of stuff that could be tapped into with all this. Like I thought Commander Bly was a great question, like stuff like that. Until they're asking all these, until we're totally drip dry in the well, I don't think we have to go to Mandalorian just yet.
Would you do the exhibition match?
I would do the exhibition match. Yeah, okay. And here's a real quick hot take. I really liked the second episode of the second season, the one with the frog lady and the eggs.
The
I loved
spiders,
that episode.
the Peyton Reed one. Yeah,
that was a great episode.
Peyton Reed directed Bring It On, so I'm always for anything.
And Ant-Man.
The bit.
I'm a singles player now.
I like the boring, emotional, like kind of goofy Star Wars stuff where like one of my favorite scenes the whole season is when the frog lady is like she hacks into Zero, like into his voice box, his translator or whatever, and she says, loosely paraphrasing here, but like I thought Mandalorians were this and this and this, but I guess those were just stories for children. I loved that. Like I love those little moral compass moments. Like to me, I love seeing Luke Skywalker again. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing all this stuff pop up again. But to me, as long as the Mandalorian sticks to that, like, the moral compass story of somebody losing faith in their belief system. That's
what a
like
conversation for Star Wars also, isn't it?
Yes.
So, Adam, same thing. Do you take in any other content? I feel like that's one thing that I don't know about you if you read the books or if you enjoy any of the animated series.
Not nearly as much as the movies. I mean, Mandalorian is a Star Wars movie as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's everything. Every tiny reference in it is something from the movies, not from expanded universe. So I haven't read many of the books. I haven't read. I think I could round that up to I haven't read any of the books. Yeah, I think I could round that down to I haven't read any of the books. Yeah. They sound great. I've listened to a few on audiobook, and so that didn't. I love Clone Wars, but I've seen every episode maybe once and some not at all. So, and same thing with Rebels. I'm sure there's a bunch of Rebels I haven't seen, but so it doesn't really get in the way of studying for it. I enjoy it as expanded Star Wars, but boy, there's just nothing like watching a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. 100% agree. I'm going to shoot this over before we get into that really quickly. Or you know what, Evan, I'm going to let you read that for us before we get into Thomas.
Guys, wouldn't it be ridiculous if I went on opposite day and I said, "Hi, my name is Evan Bushkar and I hate The Last Jedi, so come at me, bro. My Twitter handle is @EvanBushkar." Wouldn't that be nuts?
That is the Streamlabs coming in from upstairs. Thank you so much.
Hey, it all goes to a good cause.
This is true.
The golden loophole, Evan Bushkar.
Absolutely.
You call it the golden loophole?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why, but I love that.
Lacey answered 600, so you knew it was 800, and then you got the 600 question, so you're
let me say, I knew that shit was 800 from the get-go. I did not want multiple.
Yeah.
The golden
And the get-go was from the moment Lacey said 600.
Well, we'd already established that you cheated earlier. That's what
This is just a shocking set of revelations.
You can't see it, but like right behind this wall is just like all these pieces of paper taped up, and like they all have red.
Don't say that. You'll get in trouble. Stop. Yeah. He didn't cheat.
No,
oh my God, he's gonna get kicked out of the Schmoedown.
I'm gonna get kicked out of the league.
You stop. He did not cheat. He won fair and square.
Could you imagine what it would look like if somebody did decide to cheat by putting up? Because I mean, they would ask you the question, and you go.
Right. Oh yeah, no, for real. It's like
wait.
What this answer could
be. There's just no way to pull off.
You have an earpiece in. You're like. I'm getting Clint Howard.
800. Clint Howard. It's Clint.
It's just my iPhone. It's not a big.
Just have a picture of
Howard or Howard.
Just off camera, Lacey has a picture of Clint Howard from The Waterboy.
Just in case that's asked.
Yeah.
It's just all forehead in the
picture. It's a fine question, I think. Thomas Harper, for you also, do you read any of the Star Wars novels? Do you watch any of the other?
Guy. Of course he does.
Yeah.
I all of it because I have to. I unlike some other folks out there that compete alongside me. Like I don't do YouTube or anything, so I'm not actively producing content. So I'm reading these things for pleasure, but I also have to know them. And I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of expanding the division. I think it needs to, quite frankly. I mean, I can go on that tirade another day, but I think. Realistically, we will not see questions from a new Star Wars movie until 2023 at the earliest, because you're going to have the movie come out on home video after its late 2022 release, and then PJ and his team have to kind of dive into it and ask questions. And we've seen from Rise of Skywalker already, we're the second season into it, and we've barely touched it in terms of content. And then you're looking at 2024. So you're telling me that we're going to stay at 12 movies until season 11 of the Schmoedown? Like that's a little crazy. And I think the success of a show like The Mandalorian, the success anticipated of Book of Boba Fett, of Andor, of Kenobi, the fandom and the franchise, I think, is evolving. The movies will always be the mainstay; those aren't going away, and they're never going to not be the mainstay of the Schmoedown. But the Star Wars division is already not the movie trivia Schmoedown. Like I make this argument to folks all the time. When you're requiring people to go deep dive into something, a great example, Alex's question about what gave Kylo's lightsaber the distinctive crackle.
Yeah.
That's never mentioned on screen.
Nope.
Never mentioned on screen. And so it's hard for me to like, how do you compare that to like an IG question or a singles question that legitimately is in the movie?
They say it or you see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's just it. But Star Wars has always been that way because it has to be. And so it's not this massive transition to other things. Even the Clone Wars movie, it's a movie in that it got a theatrical release. In reality, it's like 3 or 4 episodes that just got tied together as a lead into the show. So you've already got a movie, you've already got massive amounts of questions and content that are already setting the stage for it. And I think to make this division really, really exciting, to get like the singles level of strategy, to have round 2 become less about getting perfect and more about like strategizing about your opponent. Like I think about like a wheel in which you're like, okay, let me see if I can put
shooting
season 7 of the Clone Wars on there. Yeah, shooting location. Or, and let me know what my opponent is. Is he weak on Rebels? Okay, I'm going to put season 3 of the Rebels on the wheel. And then it's like, oh man, they're like real minefields on the wheel. And the last thing I'll say on that is that in terms of pure content, like there are folks, and I completely understand where they're coming from, that have a vested interest in keeping this at 12 movies because it's a small pool for them to tread water in. If you total up just Rebels and Clone Wars, that's like 50 movies worth of content to study. I do that every year anyhow, and it's very, very difficult to keep up with. The prospect, I completely understand the perspective of somebody that's only done the Schmoedown looking at a series like the Clone Wars and knowing it in that sort of detail. And I said this during our pre-show, Alex losing that heartbreaker on a clone was almost a repeat of what he and I both lost the 2020 round on. It was the identity of a clone in an episode of the Clone Wars, who drops the electroproton bomb on the Zillo Beast in, was that season 2 or something like that? Yeah, and so for me, I don't know that it'll ever get there, but I'll die on that hill. But and if Christian ever were to listen to me, I'd make an impassioned argument about it. But for me, knowing all that content, consuming all of it, it sort of builds this network in my brain where when I hear a question like that about Bly, I think about his unit. I think about his, chain of command. I think about the Venator Star Destroyer that he's assigned to. All of those things. So whereas one person might have like, okay, I saw this name in a visual dictionary. Like I've got multiple points that allow me to pull that information, at any given time because of that. And that's just how, like, maybe that's how my brain works, but like I know that's how Alex's brain works, and so I see all of that as an asset. And I'm saying all these things intentionally with Adam sitting right here to we call that PSYOP, psychological operations, to really get in your head.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so psyched out.
Yeah.
I quit. Let's not even play.
Sorry, I'm throwing darts at a dartboard.
And going off what Thomas said, obviously I'm new again. This is kind of like the frog in boiling water thing.
I'm not afraid.
Where
Rusty wrote that one.
I'm new into the environment, so I'm just seeing things and like, oh, what if this happened or this happened? With my wheel in particular, I felt that there weren't enough challenging topics on that wheel because it was all movies. So like, I feel like looking and studying with the singles and IG players on my team, it would be cool to see like an Obi-Wan Kenobi focused category or an Anakin focused category, shooting locations, because they do like, Emily Blunt as a category. They do different actresses and stuff. And obviously you can't do that where you're like Daisy Ridley category because she doesn't do just Star Wars. But I think you could break it out into categories like bounty hunters. I think they've done that before. Yeah. You could do clones. I just think there's different ways that you can mix it up so it's not falling back to the same movies with like the similar questions that they've maybe asked in the past.
Somewhere I'm hearing PJ
in the questions that they make. That is
I'm
not
hearing
what I'm
PJ's evil laugh again as you're giving him these dastardly ideas, and it's all going to come back to bite us all.
And I'm hearing the rest of the question writing team sign in exasperation over it. So,
by the way, has
it's more
anyone
of an
taken
appreciation of their questions and then getting them to have more fun with specific topics? Because I'm sure the broad ones are not easy to write questions for.
Yeah.
Right. So Evan, I want to ask you this as someone who has also played in Schmoedown, or I'm sorry, not Schmoedown, but Star Wars trivia outside of the realms that everyone else here has been used to. Do you feel the same way about those minor categories like Lacey was talking about, like an Obi-Wan category, maybe even a Rey category or anything like that?
I believe that's actually a really cool idea. Maybe like a rebellion category. I mean, like they do heroes and villains, but I think that could even go narrower. Yeah. They used to have Underworld was one, or they still do, right?
It pops up from time to time, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that would be a good time, like the Republic or the Separatists, like things like that could be really neat. And I think they should maybe they should just make the wheel bigger. Like maybe they could have like 30 categories.
They're old men at the desk at this point. They're gonna go like, what is?
Also,
where's that needle?
I don't mean to be mean, but I just had a great idea. Has anyone, and I love Alex, I'm not trying to kick him while he's down, but has anyone taken the Order 66 scene and used
that's pretty terrible.
Put his head
It's been about 24 hours, man.
Yeah.
I want to do like Yoda and like grab my heart.
You fit well in the stock exchange. You fit well within stock exchange.
Yeah.
As if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror.
How embarrassing.
Oh, this is wild.
Wow.
It's rough.
OMGs. Okay, so we got a few super chats and Streamlabs coming in. So I'm gonna shoot this over to Paul. Yeah. Paul, you got that?
Got a bunch in there. I want to get them in here. Yeah. So from a while ago now, actually. So Weston Ira donated $10. Said, which MTS manager would make the best Mrs. Doubtfire? My money.
Great question. Back to the topic. Thank you.
My money is on Tom.
Thank you for reeling us back in.
Right. Now we're back on topic.
Oh my God, the best.
I was
probably Kaiser.
Right?
Oh,
I would say Kaiser.
Oh my God.
It's
Kaiser would be a great.
I just want to hear his Doubtfire voice.
Hello.
Maybe a little bit more scratchy.
Who asked
Like
that
if
question?
he'd be like if Watto became.
I'm so sorry that took so long to give you a great answer.
That's incredible.
He says his money is on Tom, so there you go.
Yeah, no, Kaiser, definitely Kaiser.
Jake Acavetta, actually from behind the scenes, dipped into his cigarette and beer fund and donated a very generous $200.
Whoa!
Wow.
Whoa!
Stop Asian hate. Awesome.
And it actually says #Stop Asian Hate and also #Cancel PLD's mustache. I had to read that.
Well, there's no need for that.
What is? I would like to know, Paul. Not for this stream, but for any future stream. What is the goal amount to get you to shave your mustache? Is it 500? I hope it's 500.
I feel like it looks weird without it.
I agree.
He'll grow it back in there. He'll grow it back. He'll grow it back in 2 weeks. It's fine.
How much is that gold jacket?
Oh,
beyond a lot of credit. I think it took 6 months for PLD to grow this.
It is priceless.
I'll get back to you on that one, Danny. I'll get back to you.
Thank you. 2 weeks will take you to grow back.
Schmo Me the Money donated. It says, this is an awesome panel here tonight. #Stop Asian Hate. Thank you. It's either Jeff or Buck who
either
run
way,
that.
Thank you, Jeff and Buck.
Jeff and Buck, that's correct.
Yeah.
Ferris Muthana donated another generous amount, so I just gotta go to salute to Jeff.
Ferris.
Love Ferris.
Great.
Knocking it out of the park tonight.
Hitman Hudson donated and asked actually 2 trivia questions. So you want to study yourself here. On what planet was Kia D. Mundi born?
Oh, I could probably answer that.
I can answer that as well.
I'm sorry,
who's
isn't
going?
it Kiati?
Oh, wait, are we writing this?
Oh, I'm not answering. I'm not giving out free answers. What is this?
Well, I don't think they would ask this because this is very much not like.
Yeah, this is EU.
This is very much like not. Yeah, it's very EU.
No,
Well,
I know, but still.
I lost to Molly on the question of what was the home planet of Darth Tyrannus.
That's true.
Oh, that's true too, man.
For 5s, they'll go there.
Don't worry, it's all movies though.
I'll answer. It's Syria.
Yeah.
Just
He's
the
a
movies.
Syrian.
Yeah, he was born in the country Syria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other question, what is the last line Admiral Piet says in Return of the Jedi?
I want to scream it. I want to scream it so bad, but I'm not going to.
Go ahead.
It was a drive-by fruiting.
There you go.
So that's what that is.
First day on the job, I'm already getting hot flashes.
Prince that wasn't promised donated $20 says, how about those Star Wars, huh? #End Asian Violence.
All these Star Wars.
Thanks, guys.
Man, we got to end these Star Wars.
Let's see. Lady Dog Brandy donated a good $100.
Wow.
Thank you.
Awesome. This is great.
This is really great.
Well done, guys.
Thanks, guys. This is fantastic.
Just sending some love to you all. So thank you, Lady Dog Brandy. Brandy, love her. John Lestrita donated $25 and says, as the great Dominic Toretto said, money will come and go. We know that. But the most important thing in life will always be the people in this room right now. Salute mi familia. Catch the family show.
Where's my Corona to salute that quote and that donation? Thank you.
He does say, catch the family show. Thursday is on Schmo Me the Money, #family. They do a watch along with Fast the Furious, and they go into deep detail.
Oh, fun.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Tokyo Drift's the best one. Spoiler alert.
Yes, it is.
Which one?
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift.
Oh, okay.
I have never seen a Fast and Furious movie. I will
Just watch Tokyo Drift.
That's
starring Lucas Black.
That's all I hear. So, yeah, Lucas Black is the star.
Let's see, real quick. Got a few more real quick. Hitman Hudson again donates and says, who is everyone's favorite Star Wars character? Mine is Rael Everos, of course.
Harrison Dula.
That's tough for me. I go between characters. I would say it's a 3-way tie between Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, and Rey.
Mm. Adam, do you have one?
Han Solo, Boba Fett, and the Crimson Corsair.
I do love Han Solo. He's been going up on my list lately. I feel like I've grown into appreciating him more than when I was younger. I loved Luke Skywalker when I was younger, and I was like, he's the coolest. And then when I got older, I was like, but Han Solo, though.
Just watch Star Wars. It took me years to realize that Han Solo, when he was talking to Obi-Wan, in the cantina, that he was bluffing to pretend that everything was I didn't catch that when I was a kid because I was like, Han Solo is so cool.
He's so cool. Yeah.
And now it's just got so many levels. You see that and you realize oh, he's bullshitting Obi-Wan. It just makes the character even better. It's so good.
That's accurate. He does fly in a Y-wing.
In the chat, Dani Cross in the chat says, "Thank you everyone for your kind support. Much love, all. Absolutely, again, all of our super chats and Streamlabs are going to the AAPI.
Asian American and Pacific Islanders, everyone. That's what
Thank you. I've been saying that wrong this whole time.
Thomas,
unquestionably Darth Vader, but if I had to put a second behind him, it would be Captain Rex. The moment that Vader strides onto the Tantive V4 and just surveys the carnage, I was instantly sold.
Rex. Totally get that. Cold later.
Okay, I'm gonna give a really basic ass answer. I love
you. No.
Who knew? Who would expect that? I'll say a couple to make it less basic. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, perfect samurai character, the classic. There's the whole adage of he went through every single thing. He went through almost as much pain as Anakin. He lost everybody in his life, but he didn't fall for not even a second. And then the moment, this is what people don't give a shit about this, but I love this. People,
you're in the right room for people to give a shit about this.
When Dr. Evazan, when Dr. Evazan is talking shit, and he's like, square up basically, and Obi-Wan's like, no, let me buy you a drink. That's the coolest, diffusing a situation by trying to make an enemy a friend, but most badass thing in Star Wars. I also really love Ahsoka Tano. I think Ahsoka Tano, seeing her go through that. People also, I'm just defending everything here. People talk shit about the what are the sisters? The Martez sisters.
Yes.
They talk shit about that arc all the time. But I think it's so crucial to see Ahsoka questioning her decision to leave the Order. Because that whole arc with her questioning all of her beliefs and eventually turning to a belief that systems fail you. Belief systems, organizations, all of these things can fail you. But if you stay true to who you are, if you stay true to your beliefs and your values, you're going to turn out okay.
Which is what you see in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it's true. It's very much. Yeah, I don't know. I love both of those. I like a whole lot.
You keep talking, people are going to know that you're not a scumbag.
Yeah.
My niceness is all a facade.
That is the nicest thing I've ever said to you.
Yeah, you've won yourself a brief reprieve as my firepower is focused on the razor here.
Hey man, that love towards Obi-Wan in a scene that I've seen 100 times, that's such a good perspective in that. Let me buy you a drink. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I will say Vader, Han. I got two more. Talon Card from the EU, from the old EU. I love Talon Card. And Hondo Onaga from the.
Nicely done. I like that.
I'm just your basic Star Wars bitch over here. I'm a big fan of Harrison Dula. I love Nora Wexley from the.
Wait, why is Hera basic?
No, just
about that.
It's kind of a deep cut.
I'm a lady who loves the ladies in Star Wars, so all of that stuff.
Good for you.
Thank you. But Nora Wexley inside of the books is also a big deal for me. I love Rey. I love obviously Leia Organa is a huge thing for me.
You don't see her, but you kind of see her briefly.
Yeah.
In Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Who?
Nora Wexley.
Nora. Yeah. In Y-Wings. Shout out to the Y-Wings.
And Kanan's dad is somewhere.
In
that. Oh, really? Has that been written in?
That's what we're in.
Or not Kanan, not Kanan, but
didn't they?
Poe's dad
both
is
of his
somewhere in
parents
there.
are probably involved somewhere.
Didn't they retcon the blonde beard guy at the bunker?
Yes.
That is Rex, right?
I don't know if is that canon officially now.
That got backtracked on really
Did
quickly.
it? Okay. They just made Rex look like that in the
Clone Wars. Billy, do you have one?
I'm an R2D2 guy. That's my homie for real.
Nicely done.
Nice.
And
I like
and
that.
Nean, I always love what's his name? Nean Noob. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Nean Noob.
I just say non-num because his
That's
brother is
my
10 num.
His brother is 10 num.
Yeah.
We got 3 more Streamlabs to get through. 3 more Streamlabs to get through. Real quick, Caddyshack donated $5. I love Caddyshack. Gold Jacket, Green Jacket, who gives a shit?
I like
it. Congrats on your win, Gold Leader. Well played, Lacey. Looking forward to more from you in the future. Good luck in your match, Adam and Thomas. And always #blame PLD.
Always.
Danny Cost. Well, our own Danny Cost donated $100. Thank you,
Cost
Danny. We're all coming strong. Thank you all for the generous donations. Great panel. #Stop Asian Hate. Stop Asian Hate.
I want to give a shout out to Dani Cossack Lost. We were actually talking about this offline when we were off air, but Dani does a lot. Dani has been a part of Call to Action since day one. Dani is also a big moral support for everyone inside of the crew. You really don't get to see him on screen. Dani is a big backstage part of Call to Action, and Dani is the heart. Dani is a big heart in this channel and stuff like that. So I want to send Dani Cossack Lost a big shout out and big love to Dani from everyone inside of this crew. You've done so much for us, and you definitely deserve your flowers, my Wonder Twin, and all of that good stuff. So sending Dani a bunch of love all the time. Always big love to Dani Cost.
Great. And one last one, Peggy Gubbins. Peggy.
And
we love Peggy.
Love
would
her.
Would you guys be down for an exhibition match where it's all trivia from the Family Guy trilogy and or Robot Chicken version of Star Wars?
Yes,
I would.
I would totally prep for that.
That would be fun to watch. Yeah.
And P.S. Gold Leader, you look like the trombone player of a ska wedding band.
I am actually
Go
the
down.
tuba player of a ska band. I'm a drummer. Oh yeah. This string kid exists in the back of my shots.
Oh, I see.
I gathered you were a drummer without seeing the drums.
I'm not even kidding. There are people you meet in your life, like later in life. I know I'm not that old, but later in life that you're like, where have you been? Peggy is one of those people, and I'm like, where have you been? Where have you been hiding?
That's
She
very
is
nice.
so funny. So funny.
Right. And she's got a match coming up soon as well.
Yes, she does.
Yes.
She's going to kill it.
Good. All right. Well, guys, we have finished the Streamlabs. We're back to the matches here.
We're still on round 3 of mine.
Round 3 of yours.
Okay.
Oh yes, the 2-pointer.
We're up to the 2-pointer.
2-pointer. That Empire Strikes Back. So, wait.
Oh wait. Oh here it is. You ready for this?
It's like going to Harvard. You'll find out.
I have a great drummer joke. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a savings bond and a drummer?
I don't know. What is the difference between a savings bond and a drummer?
I don't know.
Savings bond will eventually mature and make money.
Nice, sir.
I think that's how savings bonds work.
Can you reach back to your drum set and you give us a
Yeah, right.
It'll
Exactly.
it's electric, so you'll just hear the.
It sounds just like that.
Are you eating gluten and doing CrossFit next to your drums? Because they tell you about it all.
I'm also vegan, y'all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being vegan.
Yeah, what?
I know.
Wait, what?
Nothing wrong with being vegan. They'll let
There's
you know
nothing
that
wrong
they're
with being vegan. Oh my
No,
goodness.
just people who are vegan will eventually let you know.
Right.
This is true.
It's like being from Harvard or being a drummer. You'll find out.
Yes.
I've been a vegetarian before, not a vegan. I didn't go
Not a
far.
vegan.
Well, back to the matches before this turns into
No. Let's stay on this.
Round 3.
Round 3. How You hit your 2-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on the 3-pointer?
My thoughts on the 3-pointer are what I said in round 1, which I think was probably my own personal biggest mistake, which was not taking my time. I know that answer. You know, I know what movies he's in. I can even tell you, like, there's a part in Rogue One where Bail Organa goes to Antilles and goes, "I have a mission for you, Captain Antilles." Like, I know that he's in the movie. It's just I was moving quickly. I thought quickly. I was like, he gets the droids in Revenge of the Sith. He gets choked out in New Hope too. And like I told you guys in the chat, Kate's just going, JT, 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 just like screaming. It was just, I hate to say it because it's so corny to say, but it was a rookie mistake. I should have waited and just given myself more time, which that mistake won't happen again. And I know Evan felt this way too, I'm sure. Leaving 3 JTs on the table, you're just like, whoa, why didn't I just use those at some point? Just to give yourself more time to kind of second guess things. I was just moving too quickly.
Speak for
I mean,
yourself.
you say rookie mistake, but
All right, I was
like,
trying to be nice, man.
you say rookie mistake, but honestly, there's like seasoned Schmoedown competitors who still
that doesn't go away. Forgetting to use your JTs, yeah, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, whoops.
You will make that mistake again. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's true.
I always say, like, if you feel at any point you need to use a JT rule, just use it. It's you don't, you know. You don't get extra points for not using them.
Honestly, I was so confident in my answer because in my head I thought really quick and I was like, yeah, that's right, because Antilles is played by 3 different actors in 3 different movies. So it's like you can't even place the face and count faces in the movie. I was just moving too quickly. So
I think especially getting into the Dimolanta Damon match, gameplay is a big thing going forward. So Lacey, when you talk about using your JTEs, Adam, when you talk about forgetting about your JTEs, that's all gameplay. That's all Schmoedown gameplay and what it comes into. And we saw that in the Dimolanta Damon match. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself talking about it, but
sure.
those are random little things that can deter you in your first few matches. I feel like Lacey and Evan, I'm going to go to Lacey first with this. Lacey, do you feel like that's something that you're learning from going forward, like to not maybe second guess yourself in certain questions?
I'm always going to do that. That's just who I am as a person. So to ask me not to second guess something I think, it's like telling me to like unprogram 30 plus something years of me. But I think just taking more time is something that I've learned. But I didn't go into this match unprepared for the Schmoedown. You know, I said it early on after I got drafted, and I 100% mean it, which is I wasn't really sure what the Schmoedown was about originally. I get drafted. I'm 100% in, 110%. I'm ready to go. I'm studying nonstop. I'm studying with the rest of my faction, not just Star Wars. I'm making questions for their single stuff, for IG. I'm taking part in their quizzes to get used to the timing of 15 seconds, even if I don't know the answer. Watching old matches in Star Wars and also other different matches as well. Like, my partners, James and John, for the Resistance broadcast, they've been making fun of me because they're like, man, you're like fully in it, because I'll be texting them on Discord being like, did you see this match? Did you see what this person did? Can you believe this? And they'll be like, what? What is going on? Because that's just how I am as a person. I mean, look at my backdrop. I get super obsessive about things. So I put in the time, I put in the work to be the best, or be the best that I can personally be. So that means looking over the strategy and the rules and what Schmoedown's all about, because at the end of the day, it could be that you just play the game better than the other person, not necessarily that you know more. And I'm not saying that about this match in particular. I'm just saying the matches that I've watched, it might not even be the questions. It's just you give the opponent the right topic. You play a JTE in the right spot. Like it's more than just knowing these movies. It's keeping your cool and strategizing and playing the game the way it should be played.
Yeah, that's Lacey. That's great. So before we get farther into that, thank you so much because that was a wonderful response to that. I do want to point this out from Robert Parker. Is that fan favorite Adam Witt?
I love Robert.
Big love for Robert Parker.
Do you mean Dead Man Walking Adam Witt?
No,
I don't think he does, Thomas Harper. I think he means someone that's played long enough in the Schmoedown to be called a fan favorite, not someone who's just entering and just being known by the audience. That's
I was just, point of clarification.
You just needed clarification. Okay, gotcha. Cool.
It's
I love that Adam fully turns.
I do want to ask Adam a question, especially because with Robert Parker coming in here and Adam, you both have had the opportunity to stay with your manager, John Kaiser, all of that stuff.
Nice.
Lacey, Thomas Harper, fucking Evan, you all have had, this is your first year coming in here and you all have had managers inside of like on your back and stuff like that. But Adam, having Kaiser as a manager going forward into the Star Wars League, like has having a manager helped you in any sort of way? You've been a Star Wars fan for as long as you have been, much longer than Kaiser has been on your side and stuff like that. Do you feel like Kaiser has helped you grow in any way as a Star Wars competitor?
Specifically as a Star Wars, I mean, as a competitor, because we all train together and he's pretty relentless with the questions. Now, it is being Kaiser, you're going to get a lot more 80s John Carpenter questions that are called for in training for Star Wars. You're going to get a few more Rocky IV questions and be like, what is that?
Listen,
I just want to know if you knew that one.
Listen,
You're going to get a Tango and Cash question in the middle of it. You're like, Kaiser, stay on point. I just want to know if you knew that one. You've seen Nighthawks, right? I just want to make sure you go before you go to bed tonight. Watch Nighthawks. Like, I'm going to watch Empire Strikes Back tonight. That's
you got to be facing this way when you talk, though. Yeah. You ever seen Nighthawks?
That's a good
Adam, you've had a chance to work with a manager before, where everyone else on this panel has not worked with a manager. So, especially for these newbies coming in, and as someone who has a somewhat vet inside of this league, with a manager, do you feel like
I think the word you're looking for is fan favorite. But anyway, continue.
Yes, as a fan favorite, especially on this podcast. Do you feel like having a manager in your corner really helps you as a competitor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if a whole bunch of tactics that you plan for and things you try and plan out before you go into a match, even if none of that comes to play, even if you have, if it's been this, then we do this, and you come up with a lot of those things that to help you get an edge up. But I think more than that, it's just I would also like to go around the room to feel like when I got drafted by the dungeon, the last time I was like, I have landed in the perfect place. Like, it's not that I couldn't imagine myself playing or training with Bobby Finstock or any of these other people. Well, I couldn't imagine myself with Finstock.
Watch your mouth.
But I landed in the perfect place, and the dungeon last season was different than the dungeon this season, although I think they're both two kind of perfect things. This is yet another perfect lineup in the dungeon. I miss some of the people we had last season that were very dungeon. Zip was real dungeon. Vinny was real dungeon, and I miss them. I'm glad Drew's back because Drew's real dungeon. So I just feel supported because it is the right place for me, and I'm so happy I got drafted again, even though I don't earn my keep. I'm 0-2 last season. So I don't even earn my keep. I didn't put a single point on the board for that team, although I might this season, Thomas Harper.
I will do my best to just allow you to be consistent, at least in that regard.
That was the nicest smack talk I've ever heard in my life.
Very polite smack talker, Tom Harper.
We're gonna let the smack talk come in just a second, but going into that, I'm sorry, Bill, go forward.
Thomas Harper is my favorite smack talker on the planet because it's so nonchalant and
I thought you invited me to this, Billy.
Like
I thought I was your date for this.
Yeah, are you moving into my man?
I
still don't have my corsage. Hello.
True. Fair enough.
But we had him on before the draft and we asked him about the other Dragon Con players, and his response was, "They're all very nice people." And I was like, "That's
It's like a bless their heart type scenario.
Oh, honey,
I'd get a
bless
beer
your
with them.
heart.
I'd buy them a dinner, to help them feel better about, how things went. But
So that's got to be something going forward, also for Lacey, for Thomas, Harper, especially with Kate being your manager and stuff like that. Kate being not as seasoned as a manager as Tom Dagnino and John Kaiser and stuff like that. Do you all feel like Kate is doing well for you all? Even though, like, the Star Wars division, I feel like it's more, from a manager's perspective, it's more of a, I'm going to let you do your thing, but I'm going to be here for moral support. Do you feel like that's the same sort of vibe for your managers in the Star Wars division, or do you feel like you expect a lot more from your manager going forward? I'm going to start with Thomas Harper on this one.
I was going to say start with Thomas.
yeah, so I will tell you this: you would not know if you saw internally how Kate interacts with us and how she operates the faction, that she was at all new to this. I see in her the trait, one of the single biggest traits in a good leader, and I say this like with my military background and stuff. She knows her limits. She knows her sort of, not shortcomings, but she knows where her expertise is and isn't. And she empowers those who are good in her weak spots to step forward and lead. And so when it comes to Star Wars, is any manager, quite frankly, in this league going to be able to operate on the level that the league or the division requires? Probably not. That's not a knock on anybody. That's just where the division is.
Correct.
But I think the truly great managers recognize that fully, but they put systems in place to best support those players. Because I think there are factions out there that whatever they're saying in interviews and stuff like that, their Star Wars competitors are sort of on their own, doing their own thing. And the manager gives them a clap on the back and says, "Go get them, sport." And that's great. That works for some people, but that's not the system that Kate has in place. And the credit goes to the rest of the faction. They've stepped up to fill those roles. You guys mentioned Peggy. Peggy's prepping for her own match, and yet she's in our Star Wars matches, having come up with questions on her own. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, this is either the dumbest thing or the most selfless thing possible. And yet when it's her turn to practice, she's still slaying it. And it's somebody like Kate inspiring others that is the sign of that's why people like Peggy are empowered to step up like they do. And that's the sign to me of a good leader and a good manager. So it's just a great position to be in.
That's beautiful. Lacey,
Yeah.
you concur?
I agree 100%. It's kind of funny how during the draft I fell in love with Kate and I really wanted to be on her team. And you don't want to get your hopes up because you never know how it's going to go, especially me being in this for the first year. When she picked my name, I was just overwhelmed with joy. I was so excited because she is so funny and she's such a good character. And I just felt like this instant connection, even though I had never spoken to her or talked to her. And then afterwards, in talking to her, her initial response was, "I am so lucky I got you." And for me, it just felt like this overwhelming of like, oh, I'm in this now and someone believes in me. So yeah, Kate might not be an Alex Damon in Star Wars, no one's expecting her to be, but she trusts me. She trusts my hard work. She knows how hard I'm working. She knows that I appreciate her support. And I said this to her the other day via text, like we kind of share a brain and sense of humor and just like personality wise that we're very similar. So she just cracks me up. And that's what she did. A lot of my match was just kept me chill and laughing and reminding me that this is supposed to be fun. This is a game. Keep having fun, be yourself, have fun. But no one should also sleep on the fact that she does know a little bit about Star Wars. And by a little bit, I mean a decent amount, because there were moments in my match and in other matches that I've seen that she has watched that she's asked me, like, should they have challenged there? Should I have challenged here? Should this person she's not
I love that.
She's not behind. And there was moments in my match that she was like, "Do you want to do this here?" But she believes in me, and that's all you can ask for a manager. Someone that pushes you hard, and even more than that, like Thomas was saying, she inspires me to do well. Like, I want to win for Kate because she is so nice. And what she did the other day for Jader is unreal. And that's all I can ask for a manager. When she stood up for him against Roxy and her BS stuff that was going on in the chat that she thought no one was going to find out, like telling Jader to suck a D and things like that. Like, that's not fun. That's not nice. And I'm glad Kate called her out, and Kate had every right to. And if you saw her face, go back and watch the match. I was scared. My hands were sweating because I was like, she's going to yell at me, only because she looked furious. And if I was in her position, I would be furious too, because nobody treats my team like that. And I know Thomas felt the same way. Like, no one treats our team like that. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. So stop bringing it down with your BS.
That's such a a mama way to go about being a manager inside of the Schmoedown, and to go from a complete 180 into that. Evan, working with Tom Dagnino, who definitely does not seem like someone.
Speaking of overstepping your bounds,
no shade.
I'm mailing you these magic beans.
Going into someone like Tom Dagnino, who definitely, at least in my opinion, is someone who allows their players to just he steps back and lets their players do their thing, lets their players show who they want to be. Evan, coming from a Tom Dagnino faction member in that, do you find that managerial style of laying back towards being more headstrong? Do you find that any sort of difference inside of playing inside of the Schmoedown with your manager versus what you've heard Lacey and Thomas say about their manager?
I want to clear the air about something. I've heard some people, they've been talking some shit about Tom Dagnino, saying, "Oh, I bet he's so abusive to these players. I bet he's such a dick. He cares so much about winning," and he will get those wins, by the way. He cares so much about winning that I bet he doesn't care about his players' safety. I bet he's a dick even in the group chats. But let me just say, I've never even seen Tom Dagnino in a group chat. So, you guys know what? Tom Dagnino is the best goddamn manager in this league. And I will have nothing less than respect for him until the day I die. I think.
Oh my God.
He demands you respect him, even if he is not worthy of that respect.
I think that's such a perfect way. Keep going, Evan. I'm so sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
You know what? Tom Dagnino is like that stepdad that shows up to the soccer game. Tom Dagnino.
With the chair.
Yes.
Exactly. Smoking and drinking in the corner, not paying attention.
With a six-pack with two missing, just hanging it from the ring.
Barbarian is the one that brought the team Gatorade, but make no mistake, Tom Dagnino is the one that drove me to the game.
I 100% believe that. And to get a sort of, Goldilocks thing out of this, I feel like John Kaiser is a little bit of the in-between for that. Just a little bit of John Kaiser and a little bit of Kate Mulligan inside of that. So Tom Dagnino / a little bit of Kate Mulligan inside of that. So John Kaiser
they're the best
seems
together.
Like
my dream team is
that.
Kaiser, Gucci, and Kate. Them together. Yeah. Oh my God, I lose it. They were on a chat one night. I watched it and the whole way. I think 2 a.m. Eastern. I was just watching the whole thing. Gucci was just talking about his sweatpants at Whole Foods. I was like, what am I even watching? But I couldn't stop.
No, I wouldn't either. With those three personalities naturally outside of the Schmoedown stuff, 100%. But Adam Witt, as someone who has worked with John Kaiser very closely for a couple of years now, does John Kaiser kind of fit that in-between mold of a manager when it comes to Star Wars specifically?
You can only answer like this. Let me just tell you.
Well,
You gotta take the toothpick out of your mouth.
let me tell you, Danielle.
Well,
What was the question? Yeah, he's great. I don't know. What move on.
He's fine. He's good. He's there.
great.
what you do.
He
He's
shows
great.
up.
He's a little bit of Kate. He's a little bit of Gucci. He is a little bit of both of them for sure.
Yeah, he shows up, but he's aloof for the matches. I get it.
For me, like the difference between like Gucci and Kaiser is that like Gucci believes all of his lies, whereas Kaiser like he's like Kaiser.
I thought you were
knows-
gonna say Kaiser wears clothes. I thought that was
like
Yeah.
One owns a 90-pound pig, and the other is Bobby Finstock.
is
trying to
a-
pick up bombs at
Well,
Well,
you know what? I think we should go on to what was now considered the match of the year already, I believe.
Oh, we're not going to talk
We-
about my
I was about to
5-pointer?
say we already
That
talked
was my pointer. I thought we talked about one away.
No, we already talked about my match with Lacey, guys.
Paul mentioned every single question you missed, but then can't stick around to talk about the 5
Well,
pointers.
least
this is the
celebrate
victory.
my
Lacey said the
5.
5. Right?
All right, you're right. I got off track. Let's celebrate your 5. You had your 5. Okay. So your 5 was true. That's actually one of my favorite questions in the whole show, in the whole match. Actually, I gotta say.
Droopy McCool.
Droopy McCool is the best
AKA
ever.
AKA Snit.
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 That wasn't on the card. That wasn't on the card. Sorry.
Well,
This Droopy
so
McCool was on the card.
What was the answer was Droopy McCool, right?
It was deep.
Yeah,
it was
who
Deep
plays a
Roy
flute
playing
in
member
the
of
band,
Max
yeah.
Rebo band.
What's it called? A Chinjinko?
That's
Sounds like-
everybody's dream is to be able to answer a question with Droopy McCool, you know?
Right?
Hey,
And
what's your
I
dream
just
answer,
wanted-
everybody, going around?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this really quick though. On another podcast, I was told that talking about Star Wars is different than knowing Star Wars.
Oh,
And
Is it?
the only reason I knew Droopy McCool, besides obviously watching Return of the Jedi, is because our podcast did a top 10 worst Star Wars names, and that was one of them.
please tell
What
me.
is-
That's
Was it
actually
Steve
the
Lagano
first
on there?
question. That's actually the first question that I ask all of my Tinder
I didn't make that
Bumble
pick.
dates. Is
didn't
do
make
you
that
know who Droopy McCool is? And if
Yeah.
they don't figure that question out, then it's a no go on the dates.
Droopy
Sorry.
Droopy McCool sounds like the answer you give when you don't know the answer. Like that's
Right?
what Droopy McCool.
Yeah. It's,
Boat
I just
McBoat.
wrote this down.
Voting
Voting McBoatface.
Nick Boat.
I actually would say I have upgrades with calling it one of the worst name lists. I think that's actually my best name list.
I didn't pick
Yeah.
that. There's 3 of us in the podcast, but it was on the list, so that's why
All right,
it
call
was
him
fresh
out.
in my mind, and I
Call him
laughed
out.
and said it so quickly.
Call him
James
out.
said. James
was
said it
James?
was one. Yeah.
So
I always
I
like
do
What a great
I
guy.
do
We're
have
sending his invite to the FCL.
yes, that's what it is. I do have a couple of more questions that we can definitely go into about Star Wars, but I do feel like we should
You're fine.
probably transition into
I won,
the
thank
main
you.
match. Yes, thank you, Lacey.
That
over
was the
Evan.
end.
Got it. That was the end.
Lacey wins
Um,
the match,
Lacey-
and we're moving
Lacey
on.
wins the call to action match 100%. So let's either get into the Alex Damon versus Andrew DeMolanta match, or we can continue talking about Star Wars. I'm gonna leave it up to these two dudes over here.
And I think there's like we're not going to do break down the entire match question by question because it would take us as long as it took them to answer 51 points worth of questions. I think we can
I
talk
was going
about
to say, it took us this long for my
Yeah.
3-round match.
We can
Yeah.
talk about the rails
Right.
tonight
Two-
away.
Hour and a half. 15 minutes of Mr.
Welcome to
Doubtfire.
this
and an hour and a half.
17-hour stream.
And we got to
Someone's
wrap
in
up
the
here
chat
because
to
Thomas
read
Harper
the-
has to study.
Yeah, someone's saying
Everything
read
is
the
breaking up
Streamlabs
for me.
in the chat.
There's going to be
There
There are,
more.
okay, there are some
You are here,
Streamlabs real
Danielle.
quick. There are 2 Streamlabs that will run real quick. Quiz Show donated and said, "Hey, $20. Hey everyone, keep it up with the great show. Quiz Show is an awesome individual. Jeff Alterman.
Thank you.
And Dragon17 donated and said, This is for all of you. Name one player you would love to face next. Also, do you think Alex Damon is the GOAT of the Schmoedown? I certainly do. He's good in IG too, and even knows some singles.
Yes.
Yes. Good, there you go. Lance, the
Alex
first
Damon
player.
is definitely the GOAT. Player I'd want to play, I've been saying this the whole time, John Hoey.
I know. Oh,
Yes.
The Dungeons, John Hoey.
John Hoey, my podcasting teammate. The funny thing, though, is that, like, I want to play him, but at the same time, I want to wait a little bit, so there's a little bit of a build-up, because otherwise, like, we'll quit the podcast immediately. Like, at least give me the rest of the year.
That's what it is. It's a battle for the ownership of the podcast. You can do.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it would just be super fun, because him and I are really good friends, so it would be easy to talk trash to him because I know he wouldn't take it personally, and he knows I wouldn't take it personally. And we would just make fun of each other the whole time. It would be really good.
Does Gold Leader, do you take it personally when she bashes you?
Oh no, I don't. I told you I don't listen to people below my pay grade.
Wow.
I
am a mid-tier player, so I guess.
No, I just want to let y'all know. Oh wait, what?
I said, just so you know, Gucci bucks are not cryptocurrency. Whatever he tells you, it's not
No way.
real cryptocurrency.
Guys, I've got some phone calls to make. No, just so you guys know, I'm gonna have to leave after I answer this question because my wife needs to be picked up.
I insist you leave after this question.
Okay,
I don't think you're breaking their hearts. I don't think you're breaking their hearts at all.
Oh wait, no, other way.
It's
Thanks,
the opposite of what you think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Adam, wait. Oh yes.
What is happening?
Assuming that it's finest.
One of these shows, because everybody has a camera in the room now.
No.
Go ahead.
So I would like to face myself. No.
I think we can
I know
arrange
you
that.
were gonna
Just
say-
replace my camera with a.
No, I'd face I like Marie Wilson. I'd like to face her. As I said in my match. I'd also like to face Zach Burkett. He knows that I want blood with him. He knows all of this. And maybe one day that'll happen. But
That would be a fun match. I'd
That
like
would.
to do that.
He confirmed on Twitter that he will not have a match before the tournament.
Mhm.
So
Maybe
he's
we
going to
can
come
go
in.
now.
I'm wanting the blood. That tournament
be.
is going to be wild.
Depends on how it gets seeded. That could be in the cards.
That's
It's
true.
maybe that'll happen. Who knows? But I would say currently, until I climb this ladder, Alex is the GOAT. But credit where credit's due. Alex has dominated this league for a long ass time. As long as I've been watching this league, I think within the first couple months of me watching this league is when he got the belt. So I was I'm not gonna lie, I was a little heartbroken last night. Partially because I wanted to be the one to do it. But also, I wanted to. I like seeing that guy happy, and that wasn't
It honestly
good.
felt like I lost and I didn't do anything.
Yeah, it was as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror. And were
Yeah.
It's like people who were just at the supermarket. Oh my god!
Alex lost the belt.
I sense it. No, but apart from that, I have to go. I love all of you people
Bye.
except Lacey.
That's very rude.
We're all family now.
He's making jokes now, but when I kick his butt when we get a rematch, he's gonna be like, "Oh, remember all that stuff? I didn't mean it."
Well, so bye, guys.
Thank you, Evan, so much for coming on. We genuinely appreciate it. Gold Leader signing
Making
out.
all the money for
Say hi
charity.
to Bobby Finstock for me.
Oh, I will
Yes.
say hi for none of you.
Water those magic beans.
That's amazing. Big shout out to Gold Leader for coming in. I genuinely have a problem with calling people by their nicknames. I've never been okay with doing that. So Evan has gone by Gold Leader for so long. I feel obligated to call him Gold Leader, but also don't want to.
Coach Slapper.
Well, it's funny because there's a weird history in the Schmoedown of some people who really go by their nickname or their nickname is associated with them, and then some people I forget that they even have a nickname sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I'll never call GTE Josh.
Right? Or
My
name
Right.
feels like a
Exactly.
Barbarian? You don't call him Craig.
No, I do call him Craig. I do have a weird thing with calling him Barbarian. I call him Craig. I don't ever call him anything. But that's just my personal thing. It could also come from this one stand-up Cedric the Entertainer comedy stand-up thing that he did during the King's of Comedy where he I can't call a grown man delicious. So AOD. I can't do it. If anyone gets that reference, thank you so much for that. But that's genuinely kind of where it comes from. I can't call a grown man delicious.
Oh.
Here's a question. Does anybody here know Nerd Chronic's first name?
It's Eric.
Okay.
Eric.
Yes.
I was on a video Drew thing the other day, and I was like, I think I've forgotten his name. It was Eric. I did. That was my first guess, but I was like, he has become Nerd Chronic for 2 years now.
Right. I still will call him that too. Absolutely, I'll call him.
It's Mr. Nerd to you.
It's Mr. Chronic. Mr. Chronic. Sir, please put some
like
respect
RB3
on that name.
Like, what's RB3's first name?
Right. Same thing with RB3. I call RB3 RB3.
I mean, I do know, but Robert. It's like, yeah.
I get that.
Well,
anyways, that's.
I'm PLD for that.
Because you'll
PLD, right?
Twitter or on in Facebook chats or something like that, or in the Facebook group, and it's the real name. Like with the Barbarian, Craig. I was like, every time I see it, I'm like, who is that? Oh, Barbarian. Okay, yeah.
But also, I have said since day one when he got the name Barbarian, I said it's the parody of Conan the Barbarian is Craig the Barbarian. He should have been Craig the Barbarian since day one. I've always demanded that.
I like that. We should
second that.
Yeah.
Make it happen at this point.
It's like a Monty Python movie, Craig the Barbarian.
Craig the Barbarian. It's like Eric the Viking, yeah.
All right.
Eric the Viking.
Well,
Sir, please.
Let's talk about
lead us forward.
The biggest match of all time.
This week.
This week and all time. I honestly,
the biggest match of all time of this week has been
of all time. I literally would say that right now is this is the biggest match of all time at this point, any way, shape, or form.
You want to talk about mine again?
I do.
A whole hour and a half.
We should throw this up there first, real quick.
That's incredible.
$851 in donations, and
that's amazing.
So we are over $1,600 going to go to AAPI.
That's incredible.
So thank you so much, and
thank you.
Keep coming in. We got a lot more Mrs. Doubtfire questions to answer.
A lot more. Hey, Mrs. Doubtfire really put us over the top there.
No, truly.
Got lit it on fire.
How many times
Thomas,
are
in the
laughing
case
at Robin
behind
Williams
you,
through the window?
The official movie of Call to Action podcast is now Mrs. Doubtfire.
Don't take my
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa.
Thomas, the first round. Okay. Anyway, so great match of all time. Now, what did you guys think going into it? Who did you guys have? Did you guys have Damon? Did you guys have Milanta?
Going for
That's what you guessed.
Go ahead, Thomas.
I mean, my mentality was until we see Alex lose, how do you bet against somebody like that? And what we saw here was, but for that might have been the only brain fart I think I've ever seen Alex have in the Schmoedown, but for that one brief brain fart. And I think Andrew would admit this. I don't think he believed that it happened. There was that moment where he's announcing his answer, and it's like a tone of disbelief, as if
it is a tone of disbelief. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think everybody was in that because it just doesn't happen.
Do you mean
to
the
him.
9-num question had disbelief in it, or his
no, the Bly
question.
Bly, okay.
Yeah, the final one. So yeah, I mean, but for that one little brain fart, who knows where it would have been? I mean, that was a slugfest to the end, but yeah, it was absolutely earned. Andrew deserves every bit of praise. I thought Alex's words were very gracious at the end, and he kind of captured it perfectly. And we'll see what happens in May, but that's going to be just an epic slugfest. I don't know if my heart
Andrew
can
better keep the belt and bubble wrap because he's going to be shipping it back to Alex.
My heart can't take another 50+ point match per side.
Wow.
That's got to be
final score, right?
Yeah, 50-51. That's got to be the consensus going forward. Those are the points that you're going to have to put up in order for the Star Wars belt. It was just a matter of hello, Ace. It was just a matter of
I made 22.
but that's nothing to knock against when it comes to this league, especially when it comes to belt matches versus regular matches. And that's what I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the season going into Star Wars matches is these mid-tier matches where
I own it. I'm mid-tier all day long.
Own it 100%, because this is what's developing the league going forward, are these matches that are not title matches and all of that going forward. Anyways, sorry, I'm distracted. So going back into the Demolanta Damon match, when you're looking at the level of play for this match, do you all feel as competitors inside of this league, do you feel like you have to completely come forward with that, or are you okay with being this, like, we're common ground in Star Wars? Where is that level of competition inside of your brains? I'm going to start with Adam Witt on this one.
When I came into the Schmoedown, there were like 2 Star Wars players, I think, or 3. And it was just like, they had maybe 2 Star Wars matches a year or something. And, but when Paul and I would sit in the crowd and it would be Intergeekdom and Star Wars would come up in Intergeekdom, he would see that I was, getting quite a bit of them right. And he goes, well, you should do Star Wars. And I'm like, I don't think they allow people to do Star Wars besides the 4 that do it. So then last season, it was a tremendous jump up because all of a sudden we went to 8 Star Wars players, and I got to be one of them. So this season, it's absolutely crazy. So the fact that I even got to do Star Wars to begin with, and then if we hadn't already booked a match announced this week, I would say I wasn't going to play Star Wars this season because I'm on a team with John and Damon and Mara even. Right. So I'm like, I'm not going to play Star Wars this season. So am I okay to be mid-tier? I mean, yeah, I'll just take a match. I mean, now I've booked a match with the esteemed Thomas Harper here.
Come to me.
Which I find very exciting because when I see Tom get drafted first, and I'm like, as a Star Wars, potential Star Wars competitor, I'm like, oh, I'd like to knock that guy down a notch, and now maybe I'll get a chance.
All right.
Welcome him to the league.
Welcome.
Yeah. That's also a big thing for Lacey and for Thomas coming into the Schmoedown in the height of the Star Wars division, especially when we've seen this division grow the way that it has. This is the first year that we've seen, again, last year we saw this epic ace run that he did during the tournament, and now we have 2 tournaments. I love Ace so much, 100%. So there's, going into this next season, 2 tournaments, much more chances for a Star Wars opportunity as newer players inside of the Schmoedown. How are you feeling with this Star Wars division going forward? I'll start with Thomas on this one.
So I come at it from the perspective of, I was sitting on the couch in the draft sloppily eating wings, thinking oh, there's no way. Look at all these players like Ace and Laura. I'm going to be sitting here for a little while until my name is called. My wife is like, are you sure? I'm going to go out of the room for a few minutes. I'm like, yeah, you got plenty of time. And she's like halfway out of the room and it's like, Thomas Harper. And she comes running back in like, you lied to me. And so it's weird to me to come in with manufactured hype that you don't control, that you have nothing to do with, and other than just existing. And it's weird, especially.
It's a lot of pressure. So much pressure.
That's the chat. You can only go down, and it's a weird position to be in.
You can come to mid-tier if you want.
Oh, Lacey.
What's that?
I am. So, what I would say is it's a weird position to be in, especially when you look at, folks that have had runs or that have had outstanding performances like, Ace and obviously now Andrew and Laura Kelly and just top to bottom. Heck, Adam, if you don't think I haven't been studying every minute of your footage, your Dalty Dauphine moment, granted that was a loss in the that was an awesome pull in a really critical, high stress moment in a match. And so, I look at all that and it's, I have to find a way to process through that. But Yeah, you just sort of have to find your place, I think, in the league. And, fortunately, I get a chance to start that out and figure out where I land, how far the fall will be, I guess.
Yeah, Lacey. So, Lacey, same question for you. Coming into this division at the level playing that it is, and of course with the comments and stuff like that, whatever, all of that stuff, like coming into this league, into this division, all of that, how are you feeling with your especially because you run a podcast dedicated to Star Wars and stuff like that? Do you feel like that level of knowledge that you have to prepare for your podcast prepares you for your gameplay in this division?
Yes and no. I think knowing Star Wars and having a baseline, my baseline is much deeper than a normal person. However, studying for the Schmoedown is completely different than reading up for a podcast or any type of conversation about Star Wars. Because like I said, you're like, how many people are in the scene? Who's in the background? What's going on? Like, you don't think about those things when you're just talking about something casually, like, oh, did you like this scene? But it's made me a better player doing those study sessions. It's made me a better Star Wars fan and podcaster because I'm able to make those really deep cut connections that I couldn't make before. But I mean, the comments and kind of the low expectations for me coming into the Schmoedown, it doesn't change my own challenges and perspectives of how I want to be perceived and how hard I want to work, because I was going to do it anyway. When I put my heart in something, I'm going to give you 100%. So when someone's criticizing that or thinking I don't know anything, it's not like I haven't heard this my whole life as a female fan in Star Wars that I don't know what I'm talking about. I literally had someone once tell me that I don't know Star Wars, and then not even 5 minutes later ask me who Peter Mayhew was. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, those are the types of things I've dealt with my whole life. So it's no different. But
Chewbacca,
that being
right?
said,
No, that's a genuine question from Mr. Belford.
Yeah, but I just feel I'm so honored to be a part of this group, because there were a lot of people that could have been a part of this that didn't make it. There are a lot of people right now in the league that, are just really, really good. And so I'm honored to be a part of a group of people that, in a way, despite rankings, we're all in this group as these are the top players. And that means a lot to me because I've invested a lot of time, effort, and passion and emotion and of my life into Star Wars. So to be able to kind of be rewarded for that and be a part of this means a great deal to me. And I don't take it lightly at all. But I know that I have challenges ahead of me because there are a lot of good players. But I kind of have the mentality of Adam, which I'm going in to have fun. And if I win matches, great. I plan to make it entertaining. I plan to have fun with people and make jokes and make fun of Evan's gold jacket. But other than that, if I win, wonderful. I want to win and I'm going to try hard to win. But at the end of the day, I just want to be a good player that people like in the Schmoedown.
Lacey will be the reason that Clint Howard joins the Den by the end of 2021. Mark my words. He will come.
I
would like to send a campaign out for everyone who is watching right now. Please tweet, Facebook, Instagram, Clint Howard
Make
in
Clint
any
Howard
way
happen.
that you can. Hashtag make Clint Howard happen. Schmoedown. Separate hashtag Schmoedown.
Clint, you want to come on the pod?
Yes, get him on the Resistance podcast, please.
Since Clint Howard, my favorite Clint Howard thing ever is it's from the MTV Movie Awards, and they used to give a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it was like a joke, like they gave it to like random things from movies and all, and it was always a joke. And then one year they gave it to Clint Howard, and Clint Howard's acceptance speech was so heartfelt and amazing. Like, it's like he won an Oscar and they retired the award. They're like, we're not giving this out anymore.
Right.
I love that they give the award to like Vincent Schiavelli or like other that guys. Like, you just didn't get more that guy than him.
I'm a big fan of that guy.
Right? We all love that guys.
Right?
I did. That was probably my favorite Star Wars question that has ever been asked. Clint Howard to the Den. Hashtag Clint Howard to the Den, 100%. That was one of my favorite questions to be asked, not only because of Lacey's excitement to answer that question, but because that's one of those questions that's like, this is a Ron Howard question about a character that I don't know. So there's a 30% chance that this is a Ron Howard answer.
I had a couple people message me like, that's up for best moment of the year, and I was like, I'll take it. If I win no matches but win best moment with Clint Howard, it's a win.
Still a win.
It's a win for me.
Look, I'll tell you, as someone who's gotten that slice a couple of times, it just feels good to get a slice.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Real quick, I've got a big stream again. Jake dug into his beer and cigarette fund.
Jake!
For a big $149.
Wow.
Fuck it.
Holy cannoli.
Fuck it.
Yes.
Let's make it an even 1,000 for now, and anything else that comes in, hashtag stop.
That's amazing.
Hold on to your
Wow.
butts.
Hold on to your
Jake.
butts.
Thank you, Jake.
That's
Stop
right.
Asian
Big shout
hate.
out to Jake.
AAPI.
So 2,000 will be going
AAPI.
towards the AAPI. And
AAPI. Asian American
wants to add to that?
Islanders.
Asian American
Fantastic.
Islanders, exactly. So what a great crew, what a great happiness at that point. Much love to the whole community. So on that. But let's get back to the match before we finish up the match exactly. I want to know what you guys thought about the chat. Let's get into the challenge.
Right.
We had that moment. We talked about a little bit pre whenever we came out here, and we said that the end of we thought was the end of the match. We had a question about Nine Nub's fears. We think that Alex wins the match. He announces
Alex
winner.
thinks he wins the match.
Alex thinks he wins the match.
Break it down for me. What was going through your guys' heads? Did you guys get it? When Andrew challenged? Go bring me through your thought process on that. We'll start with you, Adam.
Well, that was a very interesting question because the way it was phrased, and again, I haven't gone back and watched, but it felt like in real time, the question, the way it was phrased, because there are two things. First of all, the question is being extremely clever and five-pointy because you have to intone what Nine Num said by Lando's response.
Right.
Those are the PJ questions that are so perfect. But there are two times when Lando intones that Nine Num said something warning about the Death Star. And I know the two people next to me know both those lines as well. But the only one I could think of, which I didn't think the question was asking for, was the one that Andrew said. And I was like, no, that's not it. That's not what the question's asking for. And then Alex said that one, and I'm like, that's the one the question was asking for. But it's such a legitimate challenge because both answers were bouncing around in my head as well. I just couldn't think of the one that Alex said. I could only think of the one that Andrew said. Anyway, what did you guys think?
Lacey,
Go ahead, Thomas.
We had a play along, and it's funny because our play along mirrored the exact answers. So we flipped boards. Lacey had Alex's answer down to a T. I had Dimalante's answer down to a T. They called the winner, and I cocked my head for a second before the challenge got called, and I was like, wait a minute. And then you hear Dimalante, who didn't need to apologize that he did. That was good sportsmanlike for coming in and saying that. But
right. Especially when there's two lines. There are two lines.
Yeah, and so it was funny because we paused it, and Lacey and I literally had the sort of debate that they had, and I thought, it's classic sign of a great challenge because there were great arguments on both sides. Where I came down on it is that the comment about jamming is like the big thing that he's worried about. It's not just that Han hasn't dropped the shield in time, that they're still dicking around there on the moon.
Yeah, the shield is still up.
It's that the shield is up, but the Empire is jamming them because they know they're coming. This whole jig is up.
Right.
The intel that Mon Mothma talks about, the Imperial fleet being spread out in a vain effort to engage us. Yeah. The Death Star is not yet operational. All that is blown out of the water with that comment that they're jamming us. And so they're both right. I'm not saying that either is more right than the other, but that's sort of where my brain fired to. And of course, like Lacey made a a fantastic point. I had to like cock my head and like, well, I don't know what Christian would have done with that argument. Like I forget exactly what you said.
Yeah. So my answer was Alex's, which is the shields aren't down, because if you go back and watch Return of the Jedi, there is the first worry is that the shields aren't down. The question was, what is the initial worry? The initial worry is that the shields aren't down yet. And Lando turns and goes, don't worry, my buddy's down there. He's gonna get it down. So when the question said, what is the initial thing he worries about? My brain went to that because Lando says, don't worry, it's fine. And then when they get there, they realize there's more problems. That's not the initial problem.
Well, now however, he did say that the word initial was the initial approach to the second Death Star, not the initial worry.
Which could be, and this is where I'm saying like this could be the argument is it depends on, as the question writer, are you talking about before they make the jump in hyperspace or after they make the jump? Because initial would then determine in that time frame which one's right. So if PJ went, okay, well, what I meant by initial approach is as soon as they leave to go do it, that means Alex is right. If he's saying initial approach, like they're there and they're making their approach, then Andrew is right. However, my argument was you couldn't get to jamming the comlink part. You couldn't get to that part without the shields not being down, as Neenub's concerns, because he was concerned about the shields first.
Right.
But the word approach is heading into the Death Star,
and that's why I said it depends on what
approaching
PJ
the Death Star is not before light speed. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they say both. So they drop from light speed and Lando. This is where the Star Wars division is in 2021. We're like down to the word
razor blade.
Yeah, I mean this is all a credit to the writing crew. I don't see this as
so good.
This isn't any kind of mistake. This is like the finest form. This is like what Star Wars fans debate about all the time, and we're just doing it in the context of a trivia question. Like I love it. Like even our debate last night. It's easy to be the ones without the stakes on the line.
Sure, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy to be like, oh well.
Yeah,
that was my favorite part of the match. It led to a heartbreaking moment, but it was my favorite part of the match because I thought we've talked all season long, not necessarily in the Star Wars division, but about challenges, missed opportunities. Should they? Shouldn't they? And this was one of those moments where, like, what's Dimolanta supposed to do in that moment? He's gotta do the gut check. And I agree with you, Ace, and pull the trigger on it. But like, that's a heck of a moment to have to pull that trigger, right? And so that, I think that's the kind of moment that a challenge is built for. That's why that rule exists. And it, I just think you saw the moment, the sort of slippage with Alex in a way where like that adrenaline had started to drain out. Yeah. And Christian goes to him because the rules allow for a 15-second rebuttal, and he goes to Alex for the rebuttal, and Alex is just like, wait a minute, and he gave what I thought was a really great response.
I think he was caught up in it though. He looked like his head was spinning, like he was like, well, his response was like, well, I said this because I think that's what it is, kind of.
Right.
I do. I've never seen that. Given to a challenge for a challenge. I've never seen that asked to a competitor inside of a challenge, which I thought was very unique and also acceptable. I 100% agree that if there's a challenge that's being placed up, a rebuttal sort of answer should be given by anyone who is there. I just don't think that that's been the precedent enough inside of the Schmoedown to have for Alex Damon, especially when they asked him this question. He seemed like he was caught unaware that that was the question that was going to be asked to him, like, what's your rebuttal for this challenge? Right. And I think that that's something that the Schmoedown should continue to do, because I think regardless if someone challenges an answer, I think that whoever answered what answer was challenged should be able to give an explanation. Right. onto why that answer was what they were given. So I'm very glad that they did that inside of the actual match. I think that Alex Damon was caught unawares that was something that was going to happen. So
I think he was worried he was going to talk himself out of the right answer.
100%. Yes, I do, because that's also, again, what you have to consider inside of these Star Wars matches, especially with the way that the question writers are bringing up these questions or writing these questions. These questions are meant to challenge you as a competitor while you're answering these questions, and that's what makes the Schmoedown.
Yeah.
Are those questions.
I think it was, though, him being like, crap, if I say the wrong thing here, I could talk him into being right and me being wrong.
100%. And I think that that's exactly where it is. And that's the precedence going forward for these Schmoedown matches. Is if a challenge is presented, you better be able to come back with why that challenge should not be accepted.
And that's a part of the gameplay, because when you create a challenge and then they ask you, it's a separate talent in the Schmoedown that you have to turn into a trial attorney very briefly.
100%.
You have to take yourself out of the gameplay, turn into a trial attorney, and say, here is why this happens in the movie. That's really interesting, because if his mentality, he wasn't able to reorient his mentality, and that might have taken him out for the ultimate question.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the genius of the Schmoedown.
And I'm telling you,
into an answer. Correct.
Yep,
he talked him into a wrong answer. He was actually wrong with his challenge, but he was able to bullshit enough that they believed him.
Which one are you talking about?
But here's
Bateman.
Classic example. Classic example.
And
this is
go ahead.
This is a unique thing, though. Like, we don't this challenge specifically, especially because both of the answers you could defend as being right. Typically, a challenge is somebody answers something, somebody challenges it, they look it up, and they're like, actually, this is the right answer. This is a very unique, like, you can defend your answer. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of these in the future. And also the Ben Bateman, like, talking himself into a right answer, that's Christian's, like, kind of gotten rid of that. Like, you're not going to be allowed to do that as much. Like,
yes, exactly.
With the petty challenge thing.
Sort of. So that's where the petty challenge rule kind of comes into play when it comes to things like this. But I also feel like challenges are definitely something that comes from the player aspect of it, and where the wordings of these questions really come into play. Like we really have to take into consideration sometimes the overthinking of these questions, because the questions can be set up to allow you to overthink the correct answer and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of going in there, and I forgot my whole point for this. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot my whole point. So I'm gonna.
Well,
I mean, the rule book, and I don't know if this is a new rule, but it specifically cuts a 15-second rebuttal out for the non-challenger. That was not, in fact, in the first iteration of the rule book that they sent to Patreons, it had the challenge and it had the 15 seconds for the challenger. It did not have any rebuttal time, and I thought, that's odd. I wonder what that, if I could just rebut for as long as I want. I'm happy to do that. But then they updated it, and it's 15 seconds. And so when they did that, I was like, this is the first time they've actually done that. And Alex didn't ask for it. And so I think you're right. I also think there's an element that Alex is the consummate sportsman. He's the consummate, great, just good player. Doesn't want to come across like he's trying to say you're wrong and I'm right. And it's awkward in that moment to especially in a match like that, after you've gotten called the winner, to kind of formulate an argument that might come across as going after a person over an answer. I think
there were moments he could have challenged in that match, I think.
Yeah.
Earlier.
But it's...
Mm-hmm.
Is that anything that you think of as a player inside of the Schmoedown? Are you thinking of those very small tidbits of challenges that you can ask, especially when it comes to the Star Wars division? There's plenty of space inside of the Star Wars division, like we saw in this title match, that you can garner a challenge out of. So as players inside of the Star Wars division, do you feel like those teeny tiny instances are something that you should / can challenge for?
Depends on the question. I mean, I'll give an example from my match. Evan said quad dineros without an R, and I could have challenged that, and I didn't, because I just felt it was like one of those petty challenges that I'm like, he knows the answer. Like, yeah. But I could have, because technically the answer was wrong. So I think Thomas and I have had this conversation a lot. It's like, what is that choice of saying, hey, I'm going to challenge this and getting super petty about it, or making a great challenge like Andrew did, which could ultimately change where the game is going. Because it's always a balancing act with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right, Thomas?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a tough set of scales to balance, because, you know, the litigator in me wants to be like, you know, call you on your stuff. Like, you think you're going to slip one past me, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep in mind that there's a sportsmanship element to this. You don't want to come across as the player that, like, what's the goal in this challenge here? And so I think there's a difference between challenging because somebody misspelled a word. I think that's petty, unless they're just getting the answer completely wrong. And then I go back to like an earlier, I forget who gave the sort of famous answer, but it was a quote from Attack of the Clones that was Queen Jamilia that gave the quote, and the answer was like Queen of Naboo, and that answer was accepted and not challenged. And in that instance, yeah, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to say this division in particular is a game of inches. You giving that broad answer just doesn't cut it. That's the most generic answer possible for this question. And so I think that's a situation that's probably going to be a little more common to Star Wars. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of challenges this year, but this, as Ace said, this was a good challenge. This should be put into the digital rule book as the way a challenge should be made. Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. And that's why I didn't. I want to make people know that I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah,
because there's that balance of what's a good challenge and what's a not. We talked about this before my match, Kate and Thomas and myself, and I said, if it's something like that, I'm not going to challenge it.
Yeah, Ace said inside of the chat, spelling shouldn't be challengeable, especially in Star Wars. So yeah, 100%.
Totally.
That's what Lacey and Thomas were talking about right now.
And the last thing I'll say on that, the moment that you make that you cast yourself as the petty challenger, the person that's going to challenge spelling, it's going to blow right. You're going to get cast. That's going to be your moniker for the rest of your time in the Schmoedown. B, it's going to blow up in your face, because regardless of how that challenge ends up, you're going to get something wrong at the end of the day. Like, I'm a horrendous speller, and if spell check weren't a thing, somebody would probably think I was illiterate.
Sure.
And in the Star Wars division especially, you're going to get something wrong, and then they're going to be like, see now, like the shoe's on the other foot, so you're gonna look silly really, really fast.
Well,
can we get a Star Wars spell check? That's what I learned out. Like, so we're spell checking Star Wars, the words and everything.
My phone
those aren't words.
My phone has started to autocorrect normal words into Star Wars words.
Yeah, what did it autocorrect quadineros to?
100%.
It reached a new level when Yakavetta got autocorrected.
That's true, exactly.
Oh,
Adam, do you feel the same way about the Star Wars and division and the spelling inside of it?
Of course, the spelling. These are all fake words, So there's no. What is the spelling of quadinaris? It's a fake word. I unfortunately ended up in a match when I played Molly that she was playing for Sam Levine, and Sam Levine is one of the creators of the idea of challenging to try and throw someone off, right? And I don't know, based on the new rule book, if someone says, how long has Maz Kanata been running her castle, and the answer is 1,000 years, and I, thinking of Obi-Wan's quote, say over 1,000 years, I don't know under the new rule books if I am wrong anymore. Because there's a lot of numbers. I could say 500. That's way wrong. I could say 30. That's really wrong. Over 1,000 is pretty darn close. I clearly have heard the line. But I don't know under the new rules if that. But that's the only reason I played dirty, because I'm like, well, if you're playing the have to be 100% the exact line rule, then the next question after that, Molly didn't say the exact line. And I know that Molly hated that too, but I was like, I'm sorry, I have to throw that back in Sam's face, because now we're playing exactsies. And she didn't go exactsies, you know?
Exact.
But he set the terms of that, you know?
That's going to be my question for the Star Wars players. Are these challenges for these completely minuscule things, are they considered plain dirty? I'll go to Thomas Harper first.
The preview that I'm seeing in my head when Witt and I play each other is like 400 challenges.
Coming up Wednesday.
Round 1 will be 80 hours long, and they're going to split. It's going to be the worst match in Schmoedown history.
It's not exactly.
Only
no spoilers.
I will declare exactsies, but if Kate decides to declare exactsies, and then you are one word off, then I get to call it. You know?
Look, exactsies though, or keeping me exact about it. I'm sorry.
I have sat in trials and objected to throw somebody off, and you know, in that context, when you're, you know, in my shoes, defending somebody and trying to keep them out of jail, like, you do what you need to do. This isn't that, right? This is trivia. We're supposed to have fun, and it stops being fun when you're like slapping each other like left and right over petty things. So if it's a legitimate challenge over, again, like Dimalanta's should be held up as a great example, regardless of the result. That's the heart of the challenge rule.
Okay, so we're going way off topic here, but I do want to ask specifically.
Yeah, because you know, we haven't talked about Mrs. Doubtfire in like an hour now.
Yeah, what the hell?
100%. That's my next question. So I do want to ask each of you: do you feel like the challenge that Andrew Dimalanta gave in the sudden death part of the Star Wars match was justifiable? I'm going to go with Lacey first for this.
Oh, sorry. I already answered you. Yes.
Yes.
100%.
100%. I'm going to go with Adam next.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Although in my head, when Alex answered his, I was like, oh, that was the answer I think they were going for. And I immediately let go of the answer that I had in my head, even though I shouldn't have. So it's a lesson to go, no, I mean,
trust if there's another,
if I'm thinking of two different lines, then there are two different lines. So taught me a lesson.
There you go. 100% going forward. Do you challenge this question that you believe is right or not? Thomas Harper, what are your opinions going forward for that challenge that Andrew Dimalanta gave to Alex Damon for that question?
I think that's a great challenge. Round 1 question one. I think it's a great challenge on the question that could have been used to decide the match. I think it's just a good example of an exercise in knowledge of the Star Wars movies, not to say like wag the finger and be like, well, Alex isn't technically correct because he got this, you know, it's, hey, this scene is a little bit broader and what I have on my board is correct as well.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing about how the challenge was resolved, was that it didn't end the match. It was like neither one of them lost because of this question.
Right.
That would have been a shame if it had ended on that weird way.
Yeah.
Instead, we got the best ending in the best match. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Although we did say before that we did kind of mention this in the pregame, we were talking about this. How much did that affect Alex going forward at that point? All of a sudden, like, he was all in game mode.
The micro gameplay moments.
He had one. All right, we're good to go. And all of a sudden, oh shit, I got to get back into game mode.
Right.
Now.
That could have been it.
Top of a hat. And all of a sudden, it took that extra second to remember Bly at that point. To remember Clone Commander Bly. Could that have had that much of an effect? I think it could have. Absolutely could have an effect.
this has happened before in sports where someone thinks they've won and then they have to continue, and almost invariably the person who thinks they won end up losing. Famously, in the national championship of college football, Miami won against Ohio State. The confetti was coming down. They were like setting up to give the trophy, and they call a penalty and come back, and they end up losing the game. So I mean, it's always going to be a blow to your psyche, whether it's subconsciously or not. So I also think another thing that we missed from this match, and this is the reason why we get to 51-50. There's no buzzer round now because we're on digital. Do we think the match ends up ending differently if there's a buzzer round?
Yes, I think it might be. I always have a Ben strong component of the fact that the buzzer round is a lot different when you're in person because
the live stuff is way different. Yeah.
Because if you have that moment, like someone like a Ben Bateman, who, for example, is great at the buzzer round, he gets intimidating in your face, like boom, 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 boom.
What was the breakdown of the buzzer round between the two of them?
10-10. They went perfect.
10-10.
Because there's no buzzer. It's just
Adam,
buzzer. Somebody would have to
question
that.
I want to ask you, as a competitor that has actually been inside of a live match, not to knock on Lacey or Thomas, who has not had the opportunity to do live matches because of the environment that we're
as
in.
A veteran.
As a veteran.
Let me reach over and brush your shoulder off.
No, seriously.
There you go, real quick.
Honestly, as someone,
nice and clean.
that is a real thing that a lot of people really do take into consideration about the Schmoedown, is the live aspect of it and the buzzer round of it. So, Adam, do you feel, as a competitor who has played in both the digital and live format, do you feel like that is a component that really actually plays into a big factor into these championship matches?
Oh, I think so. I mean, being there with a live crowd, it's just a whole different feeling. I don't know if it'd be different for Lacey or Thomas, because you guys played live at the Dragon Con, right? You have a huge crowd there, right?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. But like that's a huge crowd at Dragon Con, right? Like probably larger than any show we do at the Schmoedown, probably. But it gives you a lot of energy, and I don't know, you can get things right. Things can come to you because you've got this kind of like energy, going on. So I think it makes a difference. And you're talking about specifically the speed round, then yeah, I think that's what plays into it too, is you've got this energy from this vibe from the crowd, and when you get something right and people cheer, I mean, thank goodness the Dulce Dauphine moment happened with a live crowd, because that just sounds insane. What a dumb moment. All these people cheering this dumb character that I've managed to come up with. And everybody's like, yeah!
Slime.
Oh my God, it felt so good.
But so one last thing I did want to mention also about this match is, like you mentioned also, is the moment where Alex almost gets there. Almost gets there. He takes a JT.
I hate that moment.
So close. And you can see the moment in his eyes.
He'd already used his JT, right?
Yeah, he used his JT to get, and like right as he got the thing, he even like, it was almost like I felt like he was almost pleading.
Oh.
I know it.
Yeah, please let me say it.
Just say it. And it didn't happen.
You can't.
You can't. And then there's
one of those Schmoedown moments. Like it's happened before in the Schmoedown. It's happened to Dan Murrell. It happened famously in one of the most famous Schmoedown moments ever, XX5XX. McWeeny gets to the answer when they say time, and that moment doesn't happen if he gets to the answer. I mean, you got this 15 seconds. That's it.
But this cost the title, and Andrew is shocked. He's like almost like CC5. It's Bly, and he almost can't believe he did it.
Wow.
Did your heart break for Alex much as it did for me?
He looked heartbroken when he was like, "Can I just say it?" I was like, "Oh my God, just let him say it."
I did, me too. Even though I knew it couldn't happen, I was like, let him say it.
I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to be here for the conversation that happened right before this, but I do want to say that, like, that's such a Schmoedown win. Like, and you really fucking have to give it to Andrew inside of this, because like that's the game, and that's what makes the game so important and so much farther ahead of just regular trivia, because it's not just about what you know, it's about how you play the game. And it's very unfortunate because we all know, all 6 of us here right now, all, 50 plus people here who are watching at this moment understand.
Dani, real quick, Lacey, do you want to let us know where you're at before you jump out?
Yeah, so sorry guys, super late. It's like 1:30.
It is.
So thank you so much for having me. This
We've
was a
done too much
blast.
show.
This was so much fun. Adam, it was great to meet you guys.
Great to meet you.
Awesome per usual. People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran, and you can find me on the Resistance broadcast at RBATSWNN every Monday and Thursday. Thank you for everybody in the chat for being so nice. You're awesome. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again,
we are wrapping up now.
I just want to say 2.5 hours is a long show. It's
Yeah.
What do we have left to say?
Talk about we have the third act of.
I got a lot to say to you, Razor.
Oh, do you?
You know what?
Maybe we'll have to find a forum to say some things
Now
to
there's
us.
no one in
to us.
between us. You see, it's
Let's
exactly.
really briefly before we go, talk to each other. You have a match announced. Do you have words for each other? Please, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Look. I'll defer to you before I take my white glove off and backhand you
I'll
with it.
defer to you. How about I defer to you? We're just complete gentlemen, angry gentlemen. No, I insist that you talk about it first.
Listen, look, we've been talking a lot about 9 Numb and that moment, and you're going to live that. You're going to come out of hyperspace thinking you're going to take me down. You're going to bring down this empire that I have built, and the shields are going to be up, and that battle station is going to be fully armed and operational.
Maybe you should fly a couple missions before you take on the Death Star. Okay, there, 9 Dumb.
Wow.
Can I pick a different opponent? I'm done with it.
I am the best opponent you're going to possibly have. You're going to have so much fun losing to me. It's going to be the best.
Well, thank you guys.
I'm really fun to lose to.
Fair enough. All right, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Where can the folks find you, my friend?
Look up the Movie Guys on Twitter, and certainly we have a brand new podcast where we cover every single Harrison Ford movie ever made, starting with the very first one, Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, where he has 2 lines. Find out who the very first person that Harrison Ford is to punch. Hint, it's Jack Lemmon in his second movie. It's called The Ford Fiesta at the Movie Guys.
I love that so much. Love that so much.
Oh.
Thomas, yourself, my friend.
Yeah, you see my Twitter handle down there, the peak of creativity, Thomas L. Harper. Come join me. We'll talk Y-Wings all day, and I will fill your timeline with Y-Wing stuff that you really don't want to know, probably.
But like questions like, why wings?
Why?
Are there how wings?
Best ever. Best Starfighter ever.
This is
All right, folks. You can find me at Polish Twitter News01. Twitter, you can find me every week on Chilled Action with these 2 people here. And this week on Monday night, we have the boat. Brad Gilmore going to be floating on in. We'll probably be talking some FCL and other things as that nature. Also find me on Action Industries. Ben and Drew's channel on all the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. PLD Projects. I have my Scoundrels of the Force show happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Jarvie, Matty Gunner, and Bedore breaking down the Clone Wars movie. I know that's really enticing to some people, but we are going through everything, so we're going to touch the Clone Wars movie and go from there as well. And Billy, we should make an announcement, I guess. Since we are 2.5 hours in and we only talked about the Star Wars matches, we're going to have a special C2A live tomorrow night where we break down everything else. So we're going to 2 times.
I got a question for Billy.
Go ahead.
Would it have killed you to turn on the Christmas tree?
Yeah, you just deprived us all of that.
the question that I ask him every week.
It might have. Literally, it's like
that I ask him every week.
I don't know if you've ever seen Down Periscope, but when the communications guy is trying to like hook up the radio, It's one of those situations. It might have killed me to do that.
It's a down Periscope situation. Only in this forum can you say something like that.
That's 100% true. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, tuning into the C2A channel tonight. A big shout out to everyone who is listening on the audio podcast, all that good stuff. It's your girl, Dani Joy here. You can find me on Twitter at Dani Joy, DaniEeJoy. You can also find me on my own personal YouTube channel, Danielle Ramirez, all of that good stuff. We are talking about Watch the Book, where I also do the Padawan Book Club, where I myself, as the Padawan, go through Star Wars books in a very new perspective and stuff like that. So please subscribe to my channel. I'm literally 2 people away from 100 subscribers, something like that. So please subscribe to my channel, all of that good stuff. You can also find me here every Sunday/Monday on the Call to Action Network, doing Chill to Action, my personal baby for the show, with my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio and Mr. Billy Belford, where we talk to Schmoedown personalities and just break down everything that is going on inside of the Schmoedown and stuff like that. So please tune in for that. You can also find me here on the Call to Action Network. Please tune in to our audio podcast, like and comment and subscribe on this. Big shout out to everyone who has sent out super chats or Streamlabs. All of those are going to the AAPI.
AAPI. Stop Asian hate.
And we have one more. We have actually one more to come in, so I should throw that in before we go. Jonathan Caro dropped in.
Very much willing to disrupt me during my stuff, because Austin Cadell has sent in a super chat. Thank you so much, Austin. Come watch C2A live tomorrow as Billy turns on his Christmas tree and starts a fire because of Adam. Yes, 100%. I can see that without Paul saying it. So
and Jonathan Caro says.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
Because,
I'll shut up so Paul can talk.
Shut up for money. Hey, everyone, I'm glad to drop in a bit for contribute. Great job in your match, Lacey. Can't wait to see Adam and Thomas in action. Have a good night. # Stop Asian Hate.
See you soon, Thomas.
Thank you. I'm done. Give it to Paul.
We will.
I mean, Bill.
It's going to be fun.
Thanks, everyone. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Billy Belford. That's all I got. I'm not listening to anything else. Once again, thank you for everyone who donated, liked, shared, subscribed, anything. Subscribe to Dani's channel. Subscribe to the Movie Guys on YouTube. They just went over 1,000 on YouTube. They need to get to 3,000 as soon as possible. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And we will see you all again next time. We're out of here.
Peace, everybody.